Dead gum. Dead gum. Dead gum.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
I know that one. I have no idea what the first one was.
Lighten up, Francis.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. The midweek edition hath finally arrived after a day where I spent an unusual amount of time thinking that yesterday was Wednesday for some reason. Today is actually Wednesday. And I know.
Are you absolutely positive today is Wednesday?
Nope, but I'm comfortable enough that I'm going to say it is right now.
It's real easy. You know, Monday night is Raw. Tuesday night is NXT. NXT was on last night. That makes it Tuesday.
I have to tell you, I made the realization in talking to a wrestling buddy last night. It's not intentional. And I'm going to blame it on footballs here. I've kind of checked out for the last couple of months. And I don't think, I obviously have some issues with.
So should we skip Thursday? I mean,
no, we're not going to skip Thursday. I'm still you know what I'm effectively following it via social media at this point, right? I haven't watched a lot. I know what's going on. I've just kind of checked out. I have a problem with the way that things are being run, but that's not the reason. I think it's just football and now basketball. The NBA is back underway. The NBA on NBC last night kind of hit me in the feels a little bit, to be honest with you. Getting John Tesh back into the American zeitgeist. I don't know why, but man, the NBA on NBC last night.
Fan, he has never left. He's always been right there.
Oh, listen, I understand. John Tesh is just an American institution. I'm not. Although I will say, I've listened to a lot of John Tesh outside of Round Ball Rock. It's fine. It's good. It's fine. But Round Ball Rock is just it's iconic.
I'll say the other John Tesh stuff is perfect for you while you're on your yacht or around the pool. Entertaining guests.
Oh, yeah, listen, there's time and place for John Tesh. I'm not disagreeing. I didn't sit down. Last night, I had the privilege and the honor of emceeing the annual gala that Habitat for Humanity holds every year. They hold a big kind of a gala every year, and they do it to raise money so they can build homes for some folks who need a little assistance in finding a place to live around the upstate. And so for the past 2 or 3 years, they have asked me to MC that event for them. And it's something I love doing. It's a privilege. It's an honor. They had a gentleman last night who was playing music for them. And I got an opportunity to talk to him after. His name's Tyler Francis. If you get a chance to find this guy, absolutely worth finding him. He does mostly private events, but he does play a couple of restaurants and bars in the area 1, 2, 3 times a month. So I got a chance to talk to this guy because the playlist that he was playing on the guitar was just the oldest white guy playlist of all time. And I was absolutely in a groove yesterday evening listening to this cat play. So I got done with that. I went back to the house. It was the debut of the NBA's regular season last night. We had 2 games. Houston and OKC was one of them. We're going to talk about that game, double overtime game. And the Thunder start their title defense with a dub, a couple of SGA free throws to make it 125-124 and a double OT walk-off. So I put that on the DVR. I got home. I was like, let me kind of catch up live with the late night basketballs. And I had forgotten that it was moving back over to the NBA on NBC last night, which if you are my age, you spent a lot of time watching the NBA on NBC. It's just where basketball was. And I had 2 minutes last night where I got a little, I don't know what the right word is.
Misty?
Yes, but also frustrated at the same time. Because the intro started. I actually was going to do this later in the show, and I may still. I was going to do this later in the show and call it the old man segment of the week. Because I definitely had a, you kids don't know how good we used to have it moment. So the intro to the NBA's return to NBC started with them sitting down some of the modern NBA players, Chet Holmgren, SGA, et cetera, some of the next generation of stars, and asking them a question.
When I say the NBA on NBC, what memories come to mind?
I have none, zero. 1990s?
Oh, I need a memory from there.
I have no idea.
I wasn't old enough.
I wasn't alive, man.
Yeah, you're joking, right? No.
You absolute heads.
Yeah, I'm right there with them. I mean, who cares what network something's on? You're there to watch the sport, not the people on the network. I don't care who your announcers are unless they suck. I don't care what your theme is. I'm just there to watch the sport. Your network is not the attraction. The sport is. I just don't get it.
Okay.
I apologize for being angry old man this week, but that's just what I am.
That's not angry old man. That's just a subjective opinion on what makes
this would be like how you make fun of CW. And to the point where I almost think you won't watch a sporting event on CW. And it doesn't matter the network. It's there. You can go there and you can watch it. Watch it.
So that is a subjective opinion on presentation of sport. Because to me, the presentation of something, and when I say something, I mean quite literally anything. The presentation of anything is going to impact what I take away from that thing. For instance, the Marvel Cinematic Universe has obviously been running for 20 years now. And if they filmed it on a Sony Handycam, it wouldn't slap the same way. John Williams.
It's not a good comparison.
Hang on, I'm not done.
It's not.
John Williams has been producing music for movies dating back to the 1970s. Do you know why he is still, despite how much you have to pay him to do it, do you know why he is still the most sought after big screen cinematic composer in the game? Because there are 1,000 movies that are great movies, but the movies are made by the music of the movie. Star Wars is not Star Wars without the Imperial March.
John Williams isn't in Marvel.
I didn't say. I'm flipping around here. I got a few different examples.
All right.
Darth Vader's not Darth Vader without bum 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 ba da da. That his intro in the 77 movie was made by that song.
By the way, I agree with you when it comes to movies, but when it comes to sports, the music doesn't matter. It doesn't. One
of the biggest gripes that a lot of us had when the Southeastern Conference made their deal to move the SEC's 3:30 Saturday slot from CBS over to ESPN was losing the SEC on CBS theme song, because it has been such an institution in sport. And here's the reason why. Our memories of things come with triggers that spark that memory. It's smell, it's sight, it's sound. It's usually connected with some sense of yours that triggers those memories. And music is one of those things. Voices are one of those things. Smell is one of those things. And you know what I'm talking about. Most of you have like one core memory that is triggered by a smell. Maybe you smell the scent of a chocolate chip cookie wafting through the air, and it takes you back to grandma's house, back when grandmammy used to bake up some chocolate chip cookies for you when you were a Ute. And now all of a sudden, just the smell of a cookie can bring you back. One of mine is, I'm from New Orleans, obviously. All of my family is still very New Orleans centric. There is a particular dish that my grandpa used to make before he passed away. And it's not super common. Boudin, I've talked about it on the show before. It's not really Cajun sausage, but it's like what's left over after you clean the animal and then you kind of fry it up, you put it in some rice, you put it in a sausage tubing. It's one of my favorite things. You don't really find good boudin very often. So when I have boudin, smell it or taste it, I just kind of clip back to when my granddad used to make boudin back in the day. Everybody's got that trigger. And sound, music is one of them. And so it's not so much that I watch the NBA on TNT, or excuse me, on NBC more than or like it more than I liked it on TNT. At the end of the day, last night, the Thunder and the Rockets played a game. And at the end of the game, I was watching the Thunder and the Rockets, not specifically Mike Tirico or specifically for John Tesh. But the reason that I got the feels was because when when that hit last night, it's not about, oh, this is going to make the basketball better. It was more along the lines of, that's the song that used to play when Rob Brown was 7 years old and he was sitting at his Uncle Mike's house. Uncle Mike is the reason that basketball is my favorite sport. I love all sports, but basketball has always been my favorite. And that's because my Uncle Mike, who was a big basketball guy back in the day, still is, but back in the day as well. Big basketball guy. He introduced me to basketball. Uncle Mike was we all have our cool uncle. Like if you're fortunate, you got the cool uncle. You got the uncles, you got the aunts, but you got the cool uncle. And that's the uncle that like hands you your first beer at 16. That's the uncle that like sneaks you into the bar to go listen to a band play with him. It's the cool uncle. Uncle Mike was my cool uncle. I love all my uncles, but Uncle Mike was my cool uncle. So because he was my cool uncle, I connected with him. I got his love of basketball. And so when I was a Ute, when I was hanging out with Uncle Mike, we watched basketball. And this was obviously in the Patrick Ewing days, the Magic, well, I won't say Magic Johnson, but like the Michael Jordan days. This was the Pistons bad boys era. This was kind of the dying gasps of the Celtics organization. Like it was a golden era in basketball when I was coming online as a basketball fan because of my unc. And because I watched those games with my unc, and those games were on the NBA on NBC, and because those games, many of them had the same sounds, and even last night, like the graphics that they used in the presentation were the same graphics from the NBA on NBC back in the day. And so when this kicked up, it's not so much that I went, oh, the presentation of the game is going to be better. It's not. They use all the modern technology. You got the court cam, the overhead cam, you got Tirico in the, but like it's still a basketball game at the end of the day. But the sound and the graphics and the camera angles they use to open the broadcast, those all just flashed me back to when I was a young Hoops fan, when I was watching with Unc. It was the smell of chocolate chip cookies. It was your dad or mom's favorite song. You know, I lost my dad when I was 25. My dad was a big Eagles guy. It is unfortunate but true that to this day, my old man, when he bought me my first guitar, made me a deal. He said, here's the deal. I'm buying you your guitar. I need you to learn Take It Easy by the Eagles. It was his favorite song. I need you to learn Take It Easy by the Eagles. I'm going to give you a year to learn it. If you learn it, it is your guitar. If you don't learn it in a year, you got to buy this guitar from me. And I made that deal with the old man. Like that was how he decided to get me to actually practice and learn how to play guitar, or else I was going to be in the hole for like a, $800-900 acoustic guitar. But that was his favorite song. And to this day, if I'm sitting in the grocery store and they're bumping music through the speakers and Take It Easy by the Eagles comes on, I have a moment every time, doesn't matter how many times I hear that song. I have a moment every time. That's a trigger that takes me back to remembering my dad, right? This was kind of the same thing. Not as sad, but I had that flashback to a young Rob Brown coming online as a basketball fan in the Michael Jordan heydays, in the early Allen Iverson days, whatever. I had the flashback to when I came online. And there is this other phenomenon that happens within human beings, that whatever is happening in your life, whenever you are coming online as a fan of whatever we're talking about, basketball, professional wrestling, whatever is happening at the moment that you are coming online and you are gaining an appreciation and a love for that thing, you are going to believe that that's the best version of that thing. And it takes a lot to get anyone. This is why every generation says the next generation's music sucks. Every generation has said the next generation's music sucks. It's not because it does or it doesn't. It's subjective, obviously. The reason we all feel that is because whatever music was in your ears when you were coming online, when you were coming of age, that's pinnacle because you're at your best. You feel your best. You have your best memories, whatever. I think it was Chris Rock that said, whatever music you were listening to, the first time you got down with somebody, that's your music. That's your jam because it connects with memories when you were at your best.
All right. So I agree with everything you just said. And I also plan on, this is top of my list to talk about Saturday. I'd already put it on my outline. But when it comes to sports, I don't think it applies. I just don't think it applies because unless that theme is playing while the game is going on, I'm there to watch the game. I'm not there because of the theme. I'm not there because of this is on this station and that theme plays. That's the part I don't. And I see people are commenting on the stream. Should I get nostalgic and get upset that people don't remember the wide world of sports theme? Should I? Should I get mad about that?
But you're telling me if I was to go find right now that theme, right? The agony of defeat.
Oh, I remember the theme.
If I was to go find it, hang on. If I was to go find it and play it, you're telling me there's not a memory in that unlocks for you? You're going to be like, oh, this is just it, whatever.
The intro when the dude wipes out.
Yes.
But, all right.
No. When I say memory, I'm not talking about watching it on TV. I mean like something in your life. Okay, well then I can't help you with that.
Because it's not a song. It's not. It's a theme for a sports network. It's not. I mean, it's.
I understand, but it's connected to that sport. Right?
I think this only applies to people who are uber sports fans. I am a sports fan. I love sports. I love watching sports. I could care less about what formation someone's in. We've already had this discussion. I'm there to be entertained and watch the game. We watch games differently. It doesn't mean that our one person watches it right and the other one doesn't, despite what someone may think. When it comes down to a theme for a network, who cares what network the game is on? I'm there to watch the game.
Correct. You didn't listen to what I said.
Oh no, I heard everything you said. I always listen to you more attentively than you probably listen to yourself because that's my job.
What I quite literally said was the basketball itself is still basketball. The basketball is the NBA. It's not like NBC is going to do much different than TNT did in terms of when the ball is in play, when SGA is bringing it up the court, when Kevin Durant's launching a J. That's still NBA basketball, and I'm still going to watch it. The point is the connection that you have and the reason why you have that connection with basketball. It is the memory of a sports fan, because while you may say, oh, I'm just here to be entertained, so am I. We're entertained by the sport in different ways, and that's, again, totally fine. But a lot of my pivotal memories are sports-centric, and a lot of those are basketball-centric. I became a basketball guy before I really became – I played baseball first, but my favorite sport is basketball.
So all the games, they were all where that on NBC. You never watched any games growing up on a different network.
I'm sure that I did, but
those games didn't mean the same to you because you didn't have that John Tesh.
Like anything else, music and presentation make a thing. Again, I go back to the Darth Vader example.
I agree with you on movies. I agree with you on songs. I don't agree with you on networks.
But it's
because I am not a network fan.
It's not about network. It's not about who presents the song. It's just about the song itself.
Except this network. I love this network.
And this the song, awesome. This network needs, like, we need a jingle.
No, we don't.
We need a slamming jingle. There's your challenge today, Armada. Write me a jingle. Lonzo will perform it at the end of the show. We'll record it. It becomes the staple of this program. Write us a jingle. Lonzo performs it. He can play the keys. We're going to have him laid out a keyboard, just like John Tesh. We'll have him sing. I don't know if John Tesh actually sings or not.
I don't think he does.
Okay. But we need a jingle. All right. You music composers out there. All right. I want to talk more about this later on because I will say, regardless of Lonzo trying to poo-poo on my excitement, oh, it felt good to have the round ball rock back last night. Da, 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 da. All right. We're going to talk some basketball because the season's underway. What do we expect out of the Charlotte Hornets? I got some thoughts on that. MLB starters in the World Series starting on Friday. One announced waiting on Toronto's. We'll tell you who that is. And the Dodgers' plans. And, of course, we start looking ahead to the football weekend, all coming up on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Yeah, Scott, I guess you may have you may have checked in a little bit late because that's what I opened with. That's exactly what I opened with. I played the clip of all the young guys being like, I wasn't born yet. And I was like, screw you, you jerks. All right, we'll be right back. every year. We sat all 4 days and watched the Masters. So the Masters
But
themes,
you know what? That's a network thing.
I did not think that this was going to be a thing today.
I am not apologizing.
I didn't ask you to. because I know you wouldn't. So I would like
I say
to.
I'm sorry all the time. You quit making me sound so hard.
I would like to propose a question of the day because Lonzo asked me a question while we were on break. We continued the discussion off the air about my nostalgia that kicked in last night.
Obsession.
Sure.
This is the NBA on NBC.
Welcome back to 1975.
Well, wait, stop.
This
Wait,
is the NBA on
stop.
NBC.
He's not done.
Tonight, it's the Houston Rockets versus the Oklahoma City Thunder. Welcome to American Express NBA tip-off.
Those championship rings, the shimmering, shining, forever symbols of reaching the mountaintop, they've been handed out. The banner has been raised to remind all who enter of what happened here last year. But now it's time to turn the page. Begin the quest again with a familiar friend in town. It's the Houston Rockets and the Oklahoma City Thunder to get the season underway here in OKC. And speaking of familiar, we welcome you back to the NBA on NBC.
I am not kidding. Hey, right now, goosebumps. I loved it.
Okay, Dwayne.
Now look, the reason that, like I said, the reason I love it is just the connection to the core memories. And maybe it's just because I was a Ute coming online as a basketball fan, but the connection to the core memories. So we got to the break and Lonzo said, it's that's a network thing. And I don't care about the network when I'm watching a sport. I don't either when the game's in play, but there's so much more to the game. I'll tell you one more thing they did last night that I absolutely loved that TNT did not do. And I do think this made it stand out more. And I do think that this is a network thing. The NBA on NBC, and I don't know if they're going to do this all season long, but I genuinely hope that they do. Last night, they did the national anthem and the starting lineups on TV. Now, does that impact the game? Again, it does not. But it is one more thing to immerse yourself in the product, right? Like the more of the game atmosphere that they present, the more I engage with the product. Does it change the game? No. It's still SGA and Kevin Durant. It's still Chet Holmgren. Like it's still the game. So I engage. It just makes me feel more immersed than just tuning it on and going, all right, welcome to the NBA on NBC. Let's go down to the court for the opening tip. It's like, no, man, like this is a whole production. This is a big deal. It's kind of like yesterday when I played the audio from the gigantic dong of George Springer that was just stadium audio. And I said, and I mean this, I would pay a monthly fee, genuinely, to have a channel that does not have announcers on it. It is just stadium aura. That is just the music, just the noise from the stadium, the crowd noise getting into and calming down from certain spots, the crack of the bat, the pop of the glove, whatever. Like I would pay for that. The same thing is true for football, for basketball. I would pay just for the game. But since I know I'm not going to get that, I will at least let's go to our starting lineups. One of the reasons that I will with great regularity, specifically with the NBA, but one of the things that I will listen to or do during sports games, I will listen to the radio feed. I pay a monthly subscription cost to have satellite radio. Listen, satellite radio is bad for me. I got told by a guy last night at the event that I was hosting, yeah, I know who you are, but I don't listen to your show. I've got satellite radio. It's like, it's bad for me. But at the same time, I pay for it. Why? Because the radio broadcast give you the ambient noise and they do all the game stuff. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. This is the home of the Oklahoma City Thunder basketball. Now, let's send it down courtside for your national anthem. Like it, okay, I'm immersed. I think that's great. It's about connection. Trey just brought up in the Facebook chat that song plus the Bulls theme.
Tracy.
I get it now. Sorry, Tracy. Tracy just said that song plus the Bulls theme. I get it now. The Bulls
the Bulls theme is for a team. It's not for a network.
You're missing.
And that's Sirius
You are
by Alan
connecting.
Parsons, I think. And no, I'm not. I'm not a fan of a network. If a team has a song that they use playing out all the time, then it's that team. I'm just not listening.
Right,
I'm not watching for the network.
To me, the team is the NBA. The team is the NBA. Like, I am an NBA fan. Do I have a team? Yes, I'm a Pelicans fan. But I am a fan of basketball. So that song is the theme of basketball. It is the hype song for the NBA. And I view the NBA like many fans view their team. I view the association. That's not to say I don't have, the criticisms of Adam Silver and some of the other commissioners gone by, David Stern, whatever. I absolutely do. But I am an NBA fan. And especially when I hear so many of y'all talk endless amounts of crap about the NBA, like, it's the same as if somebody attacks your team. It is a team. So because there is that network that for my transformative years as a basketball fan, the NBA was the NBC, pardon me, NBC was the home of basketball. I don't honestly, and I think this is probably the key to this. Were there other games on other networks? The true answer to that question, Lonzo, is I don't remember. But I do remember the NBA on NBC.
I'm curious because unless I'm reading it wrong, there's an NBA game on ESPN tonight.
Sure. I'm not saying it's not on other networks.
And it won't play that music.
Correct.
Right.
And I will still watch it.
It won't mean the same for you because that music's not playing.
I don't know if you don't listen or you don't care what I said. When Kevin Durant and SGA are playing basketball, I don't care if it's presented on, local generic sports channel I've never watched before. And I can say that for certainty because about 50% of the Pelicans games that I watch are on Bally Sports New Orleans. I have to go find the local network.
What's their theme?
They don't, I don't know if they have one, but that's not the point.
Must not be catchy enough.
I'm not talking about today. I am talking about when I was a kid watching the NBA, and I loved the NBA. The NBA on NBC was where you went for the biggest games. That's where the biggest games were. And to draw a connection, for a very, very long time, you had something else. I've got another theme song. And this is the question I want to ask today is, like, what song, not a sport, like not a team's theme, but like the Masters theme, whatever. Because for years, This was college football. The SEC on CBS. Even as not an SEC guy, the best game of every weekend was at 3:30 on Saturdays on the SEC on CBS with Uncle Gary and Uncle Vern. Like, it was the best. And so even though there are 50,000 networks now that have college football games, and I watch all of them, that song, as far as it relates to college football, a game that I love, that song held a special place. Quick, what's the Big Ten's theme? What's the ACC's? They didn't have it.
I don't care.
I know you don't, but I do. And I think a lot of other people do because when CBS lost the rights to the SEC on CBS and it went to ESPN, the biggest complaint on Twitter, on Facebook, on social media was people saying, I am going to miss I'm going to miss Vern Lundquist. I'm going to miss Gary Danielson. I'm going to miss whoever. The biggest complaint was, I'm going to miss the SEC on CBS theme song because it's iconic. It is a connection when you love the sport the way that you would love a team. Yes, Sirius, which is the name, which I think it was the Alan Parsons Project.
Which I just said.
I was tuned out because I was mad. I was tuned out because I was mad. Sirius by the APJ or by the APP. Sirius, that the intro. I don't love it because I love the Chicago Bulls. I love it because when I was a youth, Michael Jordan was a god to like everyone my age. Michael Jordan was a god. And when you tuned in to watch the Bulls on WGN or when they were on network, whatever, they always did the starting lineup and the Bulls came out to that. So it is not that it's like, oh, I love the Bulls. It's that I have that moment of, and a guard from the University of North Carolina, Michael Jordan, and be like, yeah, here we go.
I have a question.
Here we go.
Does this music register for you? Because you ignore these musics every single day.
Well, find one that's iconic, and maybe I'll go, this reminds me of that one time we went to break on time. I'm Rob Brown. He's Lonzo. All right. So the question is, what is the most iconic sports theme to you? Is it the Masters theme? Is it the SEC on CBS? Is it NBA on NBC? Is it the Olympics? The Olympics. That's another one. Dun, 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 dun,
That's
dun,
tied to the
dun,
event.
dun,
It's not tied to a
dun.
network.
Sir, it is absolutely tied to a network. It is absolutely tied to a network. That's the point.
I don't think you're right on that one.
See, what you think I'm doing is standing NBC. I'm not. I'm standing the NBA.
Yeah.
It's just that for my transformative years, the NBA was
I think you
NBC.
might be too old to use that word. I could be wrong.
No, not at all. No cap. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. That was nice.
Yeah, I did it on purpose.
Mm-hmm. I believe it. All right, stay right there, dudes. Be right back. The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. I am not going to spend the whole show on this, but I am thoroughly enjoying this for two different reasons. Number one,
because you think you're winning. That's why.
I mean,
that's why.
I mean, that's always true.
Think is the word there.
That's always true. I think that I am winning. That is a big part of it. The second reason is just the absolute nostalgia of some of the songs that I have been thinking about since we started this conversation. So to set it up for those of you that are just tuning in, you slightly after 6 a.m.ers. Last night, hosted an event, went home, got set up for a late night tip between the Thunder and the Rockets, and had completely forgotten, as the NBA's regular season lifted off last night, that the NBA made its return to NBC. And of course, along with that came the presentation of the NBA on the NBC that included opening up with John Tesh and Round Ball Rock. That is the song of the NBA, in my opinion. Because, and I say that because, even when the NBA was not on NBC, when it was on TNT primarily and ESPN, Round Ball Rock was still, by many people, regularly used to, on sports shows, set up basketball segments. You hear Round Ball Rock, and that's the NBA song. It's just their fight song, the association song. So last night, when that game tipped off, and they did their little intro, which I thought was very cool. They started with the young guys, and they were like, what's my best memory of the NBA on NBC? I don't have one. I wasn't alive the last time that was a thing. And then they clicked to the old guys. And I do think that this kind of helped and enhanced it to some degree. They went to Michael Jordan. They went to Magic Johnson. They went to Patrick Ewing. They went to these guys that were the stars when Rob Brown was coming online as a basketball fan. And they said, what's your favorite memory? And they started talking about their memories or what made the NBA special to them during the NBA on NBC days. And then, of course, they clicked over and they had the intro that included Round Ball Rock. And it was nostalgia. I don't think that there is a more powerful emotion for us than nostalgia, to the point that, and I think I can even say NBA did, or the NBC did this last night. Large companies will regularly manipulate your nostalgia to get you to purchase things or pay attention to them. It is regular. I'm saying this as somebody who it is fully worked on, and they have gotten money from me in the last couple of weeks. Taco Bell right now. So we are clear, I'm a big Taco Bell guy. Taco Bell and Whataburger are my two go-to fast foods. Like if I'm in a hurry, I'm going to Taco Bell or I'm going to Whataburger almost exclusively. Taco Bell right now is doing I forget what the official title, but it's effectively a Y2K collection. It's the same food, but they put it in a very 2001 themed box and cup, and the commercials they're running are using like emo alt rock from Rob's high school days. 'Cause I'm in too deep and I'm trying to keep all the blood in my head instead of going under. Like that's Rob Brown's transformative music right there. That's where I broke away for the first time from listening to what mom and dad listened to and started finding my own musical taste. Therefore, it's my favorite genre. That's why I'm a Creed guy. Creed's the first angry band that I listened to. That's why I love them so much. So
they're so commercial, man. I don't know why. I mean, pick a
love Creed.
Grungy.
For the
band.
record, when Creed got going, they absolutely weren't commercial. It's part of the reason that I loved them. So Taco Bell is manipulating. They're not changing anything. They have it's a grilled cantina burrito. They've always had it. But when they put it in a box that looks like my Trapper Keeper from 2001, And when they put it in a cup that looks like the same cup that I used to go get from Taco Bell back when, remember when Taco Bell was like brown, right? And it was just like standard uniform and they were all just brown.
You're talking about I was going to say, you're talking about like
OG building. Taco Bell, yes.
The building.
Okay. Everything was brown.
Okay.
And now it's like, oh no, we're Taco Bell. We're awesome. And it's like, all right, whatever. But
I don't remember what Taco Bell looked like in the 80s.
I remember
it was definitely a go-to place for me.
Sure.
But I don't remember what it looked like.
See, I very much remember we had, now again, that is probably because when I left Chalkdachi High School on any given day at 1:40 p.m. when the bell let up.
Wait, you got out at 1:40?
What, we started at 6 a.m.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I would leave at 1:40, before I would go home, a big gaggle of us would walk 2 blocks over to Taco Bell and we just go get lunch at Taco Bell like a lot of days. So Taco Bell just said, hey, let's make it look like it's 2001. And it's absolutely worked on me. I'm like, hell yeah. You're going to play Simple Plan? I'm coming to buy your stuff. You can manipulate nostalgia. And I do think the NBA on NBC did that. And it worked for me.
So you were saying that some people are going back to watch the NBA because of that theme?
No, I'm saying that for those of us that did, hearing that song and hearing that voice, it's the NBA on NBC, it triggered nostalgia. It triggered me. I was not a 40-year-old jaded, cynical a-hole like I am every day. For 10 minutes, I was an 8-year-old kid watching Michael Jordan and Patrick Ewing with my Uncle Mike in my living room.
Sorry, and the announcer reminds me of the voices that people make fun of.
Sure.
The old-time radio voice announcer.
True, but so did most stuff from that day. Like, that's kind of the point. So I got to thinking about it, and I was like spinning around in my head some of the other songs that are like that. Now, I can't play a lot of them because I'm not allowed to play more than X amount of time, but I just want to give you a little snippet. You're telling me that you hear that on Sunday and you're not like, here we go, boys. It's football day. Because I absolutely do.
No, I hear it and go, okay, I'm watching on Fox because that's a Fox thing.
It's football day, though.
Oh, but that's the theme of the network.
Or on Monday night, and I'll even take you a little more old school for this one. Boys, grab a cold beer, fire up the grill, because it's Monday night, and Monday Night Football starts now. Like, that song triggers something in me.
Wow, you sound like old school Howard Cosell there.
Or this one to me is even better than Fox. I'm not a CBS guy on Sundays. I'm a Fox Sports pregame guy because I'm a Bradshaw guy, even though he's losing his mind, and I love him for it.
He is losing his mind.
But I love him for it because I get accused of that all the time. But when I hear that fire up on Sundays, even though it's like secondary, or I'll give you one more. What's the greatest 2 weeks in all of sports? Boys, it is time for March Madness. I hear the guitar. It's March Madness time. Like, these are just some of them that, yeah, it's a network theme, but it's the presentation, the song is bigger than the network. The catch, the hook, the bridge, the chorus, it's bigger than the network. The theme song, Round Ball Rock, it's used for the NBA on NBC, but it is bigger than NBC. That's basketball's theme song. That is the theme song of basketball. For college basketball, the classic college basketball theme music it's CBS's song. But it's not CBS's song. It's college basketball song. It is March Madness's song. It's the same as That One Shining Moment. Like, that belongs to CBS. They own the rights to that song, so they can only use it for 2 minutes a year. The last night of the tournament, they use it for 2 minutes a year. But if I'm driving around and I got my mom in the car and she's like, can we listen to some Luther Vandross or whatever terrible cover they decide to use that year instead of Luther Vandross? When that song comes on, My mom, not a big college basketball fan, she hears Luther Vandross. I don't actually know if that song plays on old stations, but you get the point. She would hear Luther Vandross. And in my head, what do I click back to? I click back to Sister Jean in Chicago Loyola. I click back to Dwayne Wade and that incredible run that they went through. I click back to the back-to-backers of the Florida Gators behind Joakim Noah in the gang. I click back to every one of these great March Madness tournaments and Final Fours and national championship games. It's not about CBS or Luther Vandross. It just triggers all of these iconic sports moments that was connected to. And maybe it filters down a little bit. For instance, I'll give you another one. Choppa Style, Chop Chop Choppa Style. That was a big hip-hop song for a long time. However, for a hot minute, that song was the song of the New Orleans Saints, primarily when we were making our run to our first, last, and only Super Bowl. An artist named Choppa, who that's the only song from Choppa that I know. It's the only song I know. But I know every word to that song. Why? Because it was the song that the Saints used when we were making our first, last, and only Super Bowl run. So it's not that I love Choppa. I don't know anything about Choppa. I'm sure he's a great artist. It's not in my wheelhouse. Never really made it there. I don't know any other songs but Choppa Style. However, that song is used widely away from the New Orleans Saints. It is still played at parties and whatnot that have nothing to do with that team. But if I'm at a party, if I'm at the club, because I can still go to the club. If I'm at the club and the DJ drops Choppa Style, everybody else in there might be like, oh, Choppa Style, man. I hadn't heard this since 2012. I hadn't heard this since 2011. And it might spark a memory of like college or whatever for them. I hear Choppa Style, Choppa Style. I go back to 2009 and the Saints run up to a Super Bowl. That's what it clicks in me. That song for me is bigger than Choppa. It's bigger than the biggest album that Choppa ever had. That song is just the theme song of the greatest football memory in my lifetime, which is my team finally winning a Lombardi and letting my dad see one before he kicked the bucket. Like, that's what that is. So that's what these songs are for me. It is not about the NBA on NBC and Round Ball Rock. It's that Round Ball Rock is the song of professional basketball. ESPN's got their own theme for it. TNT had their own theme for it. But at the end of the day, it's Round Ball Rock. That's the fight song of the NBA. And so when I heard that, it didn't matter that it was on the NBA on NBC. It's just that that's where that song gets played. That is the song of basketball. And it's not about me going, oh, they play Round Ball Rock, therefore SGA v. Kevin Durant's going to be a better game. No, it's still going to be the same game. It's just, it brought me back to watching the game in my living room with my Uncle Mike when I was 8 and loving that. And then that sparks that nostalgia. So now with all those good memories unlocked, now I'm more locked into what's going to happen here because not only do I love basketball, but now I'm sentimental for my golden days of basketball as a transforming fan, as a young man, because now I'm an old man. So I like to have my youth unlocked for me.
Which you have just proved for the last hour.
1,000%. I'm not saying I'm not. And I promise you, there are probably some young fans, probably 8, watching with their Uncle Mike, who are going to grow up saying, you know, whoever, SGA is the greatest basketball player of all time, right? Nikola Jokic, greatest player of all time. He actually might be, but not the point. They're going to grow up. And last night when they heard Round Ball Rock kicked, they probably went, yeah, it's not the same without Shaq, Chuck, Ernie, and Benny. It's probably not the same. It's probably not the same vibes. It's probably not the same. They're not going to feel the same way. And in 15, 20, 25 years, if the networks flip back and TNT was to repurchase the NBA and they go back to the Inside the NBA theme on TNT, then those kids at that point might go, man, I feel real good about this because this brings me back to when I was listening to some old jackass on the radio, yelling about how great his heyday was. Now my heyday is back and it's better than ever before. That's just how emotions work. And it makes me feel alive. Texas said the old college football themes hit different. They absolutely do. That SEC on CBS theme, never going to hear it again on TV. And yet it is still, to me, it's the sound of college football. It's the song of college football.
Well, maybe the mentality that you and some of the texters and some of the people on the stream have as far as the commercialized themes and how they hooked you. Maybe this new generation cannot be taken by those things. Maybe they cannot be hooked by those things. Maybe they'll be freer than what you guys are.
Listen, I think it's harder and harder than ever before. And we're going to talk about this later on because I got another complaint that I am going to make about the NBA, and I'll get to that coming up in a little while. Chris texted the show, said, every time I hear Take Me Out to the Ball Game, I immediately taken back to watching the Cubs in the afternoon during the summer. I get it. Same thing. My brother was a Cubs fan. We watched WGN unless I got home, and then we watched the Braves on TBS. But I hear that, and I can't help but think, Harry Carey here. Like, classic.
Did you watch that guy in the Superman suit that was always on WGN? You don't remember that guy?
I don't, because the only time WGN was ever on in our
house
house
would be on commercials during games. I'm surprised you didn't.
I don't remember that. But now I'm going to go down that rabbit hole to figure out what the hell you're talking about. Now, you're about to get to work. You got to talk about sports. You need to know what the hell you're going to talk about? Then stay tuned for the next 60 seconds of Lonzo's Sports Flash. Nailed it!
You know what this music makes me think of? That I have to work. The OKC Thunder began their title defense with a 125-124 double overtime win over Houston last night. Last year's MVP, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, scored 35, including a pair of go-ahead free throws to take the lead for good, while Chet Holmgren added 28. The Thunder shot 104 field goals on the night. The Golden State Warriors knocked off the LA Lakers 119-109 yesterday. Jimmy Butler led Golden State with 31, and Steph Curry recorded 23. Luka Doncic had 43 for the Lakers, who will not have LeBron James for a few more games with a nerve issue. I think it has something to do with his butt. The LA Dodgers World Series Game 1 starter has been announced, and to no one's surprise, Blake Snell will get the nod for the Dodgers. Snell had 10 strikeouts and 8 scoreless innings with just 1 hit in a Game 1 against Milwaukee. Toronto has not yet named their starter. Hour number 2 of the Rob Brown Show coming up next.
Expect I-85 and Highway 14 to start jamming up within the hour as peak traffic builds. From the News Talk.
The Rob Brown Show on your radio. It's the fan upstate. Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, and you. The far most electrifying hours in sports talk entertainment you're going to find anywhere. We got a lot to get to. The NBA is back. We may or may not have mentioned that a time or two in the last hour of the show. Coming up later on in the show, we'll take a little preview of the Charlotte Hornets as well as my favorite title contenders in the NBA. I got a list of potential teams that could knock the Thunder off the throne. We'll get to that later on in the show. Coming up later on in the show, I didn't do it yesterday because I'm bad at my job, but we got to hand out some TMFINR awards for individual footballing excellence. We didn't get to it yesterday because I got busy and forgot. So we're going to hand out this week's
is not real
awards.
I'm sure it was my fault, and deservedly so. I'll do better. I made you forget.
I owe you an apology. I wasn't really familiar with your game.
Also, I rebuilt some of my soundboard yesterday, so that's
yeah.
fine.
Because when I walk by, that thing is blank.
Yeah, well, I blanked it all out so I could reorganize it. Because the show isn't the show without
slave.
Wow, that's I remember.
That's throwback, right?
Yeah,
that's a throwback.
So at least a month ago, but probably longer than that.
So we'll get to that a little bit later on in the show. At 8 o'clock, straight up, an hour from now, Lulu Kessin going to join us. Ordinarily, she joins us at 8 o'clock on Thursdays. But as Lulu Kessin has caught the Rob Brown Show bump, and it's just upward trajectory. You're going to see that young lady going national one day. She's actually been asked to speak to a college class tomorrow on journalism and broadcasting. So Lulu's going to join us today at 8 o'clock. We'll talk some Gamecock athletics with her. Get her thoughts on Shane Beamer. Yeah, I used to do it a lot back in Florida. I used to do it a lot. So any college professors, you want old Rob Brown, an 18-year vet, to come out and give some life advice? And by life advice, I mean, don't be like me, be better. So here's what not to do. I'm happy to do it.
Sounds scary, standing in front of kids and telling them what the real world's really like.
You sick freak.
I got him.
As opposed to the stuff they get taught in school, and then they come here and go, wait, that's not what I was. Yeah.
So, I'm available for hire. But we'll have Lulu Kessin joining us at 8 o'clock. Then we'll give out in the next hour our TMFINR awards for the week. Talk a little baseball. We are now 2 days away from the beginning of the Fall Classic, the World Series. The Dodgers out of the National League, the Blue Jays out of the American League. The Dodgers have gone ahead and given us their 2-day rotation with their first two pitchers out of the gate. Blake Snell will get the bump in game 1. Yamamoto will get the ball in game 2. It is likely Glasnow and Ohtani in games 3 and 4. We do not know the rotation of the Jays yet. Got some guesses, but of course, because they had to go a full 7 with Seattle, may or may not have thrown a little bit of a bump in the rotation. So we'll talk some baseball later on in the show. I've got some NFL. Last hour of the show, we're going to play a little game that I came up with 15 minutes ago called Football Gods or Absolute Frauds. Because, if you're going to play a game, it's got to have a rhyming segment.
It definitely has a ring to it.
Yeah. Football gods.
Maybe we can find a theme to attach to it.
Oh, a jingle. It needs a jingle. Everything needs a jingle. Everything's better with a theme song. Football gods are absolute frauds because we yesterday started taking a look at the fact that 2 weeks ago we said nobody's really standing out in the NFL. Yesterday, we had a conversation about some of the teams that have they separated themselves? Have they not? One of those teams is the team with the best record in the NFL, the Indianapolis Colts. So on one hand, you got to go, they're 6-1. That's obviously a good football team. But then somebody yesterday, and I think this is interesting, and hopefully Keith from TR, our local Colts representative, is listening, because somebody yesterday pointed out the list of quarterbacks that the Colts have beaten. It is a who's who of who's that. So we'll talk about that a little later on when we play Football Gods or Absolute Frauds and more. However, it is 7:05 in the morning. You have less than 55 minutes until you've got to get up, get showered, have your breakfast, have your coffee, get in the car, make the long drive to work, get to the office, sit down on the desk, log into the computer, send out those passive-aggressive emails, and then start ignoring your job for a few hours while you talk about sports. And in order to do that, you have to know what's going on in the world of sports. And in order to know what's going on in the world of sports, you need to listen to this.
Are you ready
for the playbook of the peculiar, the almanac of the absurd, and the encyclopedia of the extraordinary? Well, you better be, because we're diving headfirst into the 3 top stories that will have your coworkers saying,
You're 47! What are you gonna do?
Take their first bathroom break.
No.
Here we go.
Welcome to the water cooler cheat sheet on the Fan Upstate.
Tis indeed the water cooler cheat sheet, the top 3 sports stories that you need to know before you get to the office and start talking sports this AM. When you do, this is what you will be talking about, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get to item number 1. We've mentioned it a few times. The NBA's regular season is officially underway. A pair of games taking place last night in the association to get us kicked off, including the reigning, defending, undisputed NBA world champions, the Oklahoma City Thunder, at the crib. They got their rings, they hung the banner, and then they took on Kevin Durant and the Houston Rockets. It was a double OT thriller in OKC. And the Thunder start their title defense with a dub, 125-124. 35 shots or 35 points for SGA, last year's MVP. Chet Holmgren added 20. That kid's going to be a fun follow this year because last year, specifically in the postseason, Chet Holmgren started to come into his own as a player. He started playing that more hybrid power forward center role that I know he's got in him. 11 of 17 from the floor, 2 of 5 from behind the arc, went to the stripe 4 times, knocked down all 4, had 7 boards as well. 28 points for Holmgren, 14 out of Cason Wallace last night, 16 off the bench for Ajay Mitchell. Over for the Houston, Kevin Durant over for the Houston. Kevin Durant for the Houston Rockets is what I should have said because I'm good at radio. 23 for Kevin Durant, 39 for Alperen Sengun on 12 of 24, 5 of 8 from behind the arc, and 10 of 11 from the free throw line. Also had 11 boards and 7 assists. I got to tell you, KD is still an elite scorer. Did go 9 of 16, 0 of 4 from behind the arc last night. Sengun might be the guy that carries this team. Amen Thompson had 18 on 8 of 17 from the floor, too. He was 0 of 7 from behind the arc. Listen, first game or 2 for the association. It's going to take players a minute to get into a role, especially when game 1 is on the road. I don't expect we're going to see the Rockets perform that poorly for the remainder of the year. I really like that young Rockets team. That's why they took the reigning defendings to double OT last night. The Warriors with a 119-109 win over the Lakers. No LeBron James as he continues to deal with sciatica in his lower back and hip region.
A quick question.
That's a real bad thing, by the way.
So, you have said that you believe that this team is built around Luka, and if so, why can't they win without LeBron?
Listen, I will start with a couple of things. I will start with this. LeBron is still a damn good basketball player.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? And LeBron James is, while I think this team is built around, I would really prefer to say, I think, building around Luka Doncic, because it's not like they've rolled over a lot of the roster, right? Rui Hachimura is still a starter on this team. DeAndre Ayton added to the team. Austin Reeves is still a starter. And I love Austin Reeves. He's a little bulldog.
Don't you disparage
No. I love
Reeves.
Austin Reeves. But all of these guys that I am mentioning right now, they're all LeBron complimentary. They're not Luka complimentary. What I think you're going to see primarily next year, specifically and especially if this is indeed LeBron James last year, either in the association or more likely with the Lakers, I think you're going to see a lot of these guys move on, and I think you're going to see the Lakers next year start to bring it a little more height to work around Luka Doncic, who did, by the way, score 43 on 17 of 27. He shot 27 times last night. Nobody on this team shot more than 16. Austin Reeves had 16. Nobody else on the Lake Show had even double-digit field goal attempts last night. Luka had 27. It is Luka's team. I think that is why this is LeBron's last year with the Lakers. It is Luka's team, but the reality is they just, without LeBron James as the supplementary, LeBron's the court leader, but LeBron's court leader, and I think we saw this down the stretch last year when the Lakers were trying to make a run to get into the playoffs. And then, of course, LeBron and Luka were both a little banged up, so they got bounced in the first round. What I think you see is LeBron is the leader, but he is the one that is going, I'm the leader, and everything we do is to help out Luka Doncic. because he's the most versatile guy on the basketball floor. I'm intrigued to see the development of the Lakers when LeBron comes back, but they are 0-1 with a 119-109 loss last night to the Golden State Warriors. The Dubs yesterday evening got 31 out of Jimmy Buckets. Again, regular season Jimmy Buckets is a dog. We got to see playoff Jimmy show up, because playoff Jimmy in Miami was a thing. Last year for Golden State, he was not. 23 out of Steph Curry, 6 of 14 from the floor, 3 of 9 from behind the arc, but only 4 assists in this game for Steph Curry. Again, offensive shooters going to take a minute to really get into a full-length NBA game, but they will get there. The NBA has a full slate of contests coming up this evening. The Charlotte Hornets will start their 2025 campaign at the Crib when they host the Brooklyn Nets. Cleveland at the Knicks at 7 o'clock. Also Miami at Orlando. Toronto at Atlanta at 7:30. Same time for Philly at Boston. That was interesting. The Celtics -1.5. Remember, that team's still banged up from what happened last year down the stretch. Detroit at Chicago at 8 o'clock. So is New Orleans at Memphis. Washington at Milwaukee at 9 a.m. The Clippers at the Jazz. At 9:30, the Spurs at the Mavs. 10 o'clock, Sacramento at Phoenix, and Minnesota at Portland. The Oklahoma City Thunder will get game 2 on the road at the Pacers in an NBA Finals rematch from last year at 7:30 tomorrow. And then Nikola Jokic makes his debut for the 2025 season when the Nuggets are at the Warriors at 10 o'clock tomorrow as well. Let's get to item number 2. I'm going to go quick on this one. It is a baseball story, but the World Series doesn't click over until Friday, game 1. That being said, we do know the Dodgers at least first 2 games, probably first 4. Blake Snell will go game 1 of the World Series on Friday. Yoshinobu Yamamoto will follow in game 2 for the Dodgers against the Jays. Dave Roberts made that announcement yesterday. It is a repeat of the pitching order the Dodgers used for the first 2 games of their 4-game sweep of the Brewers in the NLCS. Blake Snell, 10 strikeouts over 8 scoreless innings in game 1, became the first Dodgers pitcher to complete 8 innings while giving up 1 hit or fewer in a postseason game. And then in game 2, Yamamoto pitched a 3-hitter for the Dodgers. That was their first postseason complete game dating back to 2004. Listen, the Dodgers are a team that is built to make you look at the 1 through 9 and go, holy crap, how do we beat this team? The problem is the Dodgers also put so much money and effort in building a world-class all-time pitching staff that they can win games 2-1, right? Like, this is one of the things when you go into the postseason is, like Philadelphia, if you build the whole team around hitting the baseball, but the bats go cold, you're screwed, right? Especially when, like Philadelphia, your pitchers maybe aren't 100%. The Dodgers had pitchers on the IR all season long, but they all got healthy in the postseason, and they're all throwing their best baseball at this point. It's hard for me, as we said at the end of the show yesterday, it's hard for me to bet on anything other than Dodgers in 5. Like, I'm, in a weird way, I'm pulling for the Blue Jays. They bounced the team I wanted to win, which is the Mariners. I am pulling for the Blue Jays, but the Dodgers are, what's the weakness for LA? The reality is there's not one. There is not a weakness for the LA Dodgers right now that they are healthy. All right, let's get to item number 3. I am going to run through a very quick list of college football stories, all of which will be talked about at some point and at some length during the course of the show. I will start with the one that I think is the most important. Bryant Wesco Jr., the wide receiver from Clemson, who was injured in that scary low tackle and fall in the loss to SMU this weekend, on a punt return, was hit low, upended, came down directly on his head. He did walk off the field, but we found out after the game that he had to be taken to a hospital here in Greenville. If they transported him away from the football team and they brought him here to the Ville to bring him to a big hospital, you know that is a real deal. Dabo Swinney, called the injury, quote, very serious, end quote. But there is some good news. Bryant Wesco was released from the hospital, and he is at home and resting. Dabo Swinney, in a teleconference with reporters yesterday, said, quote, it was a very, very scary injury, and the doctors did an amazing job. They are very confident he'll make a full recovery. Definitely something that'll keep him out the rest of the season, but thankful that all indications are he's going to be okay. Just a real blessing for that. Wesco leads Clemson with 31 catches for 537 yards and 6 touchdowns. He did post to Instagram thanking people for their support yesterday. So the good news is Bryant Wesco Jr. out of the hospital, back home and resting. Now, Let me get to a couple of other college football stories very quickly. Again, we will address most of these throughout the course of the show. Nick Saban in the news yesterday said he is not surprised by the recent string of high-profile firings in college football. He said it is because fans and alumni who donate money to programs are, quote, more influential, end quote, than ever before. He effectively is blaming NIL and revenue sharings. There have been 9 in-season firings at FBS schools this season, including 6 at Power 4 conferences. Saban said, quote, I'm not surprised because everybody's raising money to pay players. So the people that are giving the money think they have a voice, and they're just like a bunch of fans. When they get frustrated and disappointed, they put pressure on the athletic directors to take action, and it's the way of the world, end quote. Saban would go on talking to James Franklin, who showed up on College Game Day. We haven't even gotten to that. We got to get to that. James Franklin was on College Game Day, and Saban said, quote, it's unfair as hell for you to go to the Rose Bowl, Fiesta Bowl, to get to the Final Four, come out being ranked number 2 this year, an expectation that you created by what you accomplished at Penn State, and for those people not to show enough appreciation for that and gratitude for all the hard work that you did. I'm saying it's unfair, end quote. I want to get to that later in the show. Texas A&M has drawn the SEC's first fine for faking injuries in game. Now, when this whole thing started, I genuinely was like, I don't know how this works out, because what you do not want to do is fine a school for faking an injury. You find out 2 days later, like, the kid's actually hurt. But in the fourth quarter of the Aggies' 45-42 win at Arkansas on Saturday, defensive back Tyreek Chappell sat down on the field and started pointing at his right leg. And, of course, Arkansas was like, no, he was just fine. Well, Steve Shaw, the national coordinator of football officials, reviewed video submitted by the SEC of the situation, which occurred with 12:36 remaining. The Aggies up 1 before Chappell went down. On the video, according to Steve Shaw, a Texas A&M staff member can be seen on video standing near him at the 25-yard line and signaling Chappell while pointing to the ground. Chappell had no contact during the previous play and showed no signs of injury until he sat down and pointed at his right leg. Texas A&M was flagged and charged a timeout because Chappell presented as injured after the ball was spotted. The senior cornerback returned to the game on the very next play of the Arkansas drive. Steve Shaw said, as far as we're concerned, that was a fake injury. $50,000 fine. If it happens again for the Aggies, that will go to $100,000. If it happens a third time, Mike Elko will be suspended for a game. We'll talk about that later in the show. The Big 12 has fined Arizona State $50K and issued a public reprimand for ASU fans storming the field following their 26-22 upset of Texas Tech on Saturday. Brett Yormark, the Big 12 commissioner, why did I say that like I'm from Boston? Brett Yormark said, quote, the Big 12 prioritizes the safety of all players. The conference will continue to work with all of its institutions on event management policies at all Big 12 venues. So $50K going against Arizona State, and I'm sure that they will soon enact their field storming protocols as the SEC and the ACC have done, if they haven't done it already. And finally, and we will talk about this a little bit later on the show, 6-time Super Bowl winning head coach Bill Belichick has advanced to the final 12 coaches in the running for the 2026 class of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Bill Belichick in his first year of eligibility after rule changes put in place last year that shrank the requirement for how long coaches have to be out of the NFL before they can be considered to just one season. 2-time Super Bowl champion coaches Tom Coughlin, Mike Shanahan, and George Seifert also advanced, along with another Super Bowl winner in Mike Holmgren. The other coaches in the running, Bill Arnsparger, Alex Gibbs, Chuck Knox, Buddy Parker, Dan Reeves, Marty Schottenheimer, and Clark Shaughnessy are all in the mix as well. A committee will reduce the field to 9 semifinalists next month and eventually down to 1 finalist. Holmgren earned that spot last year but fell short in the final vote. It's going to be the hoodie, right? Like, there's no one else it can be but the hoodie. Say what you want about Tom Brady. The dude's got 6 ranks. Yeah, he's going in first ballot.
I mean, if you think Super Bowls is the prerequisite, I think he's got that covered.
Yeah, and I don't. But I do think it is a part of the measure, and ain't nobody else got that many. So Bill's going to go in. Listen, I want it to be very clear. I separate college Bill and pro Bill. I also separate Bill with and Bill without Tom Brady. Bill without Tom Brady is a sub 500 NFL coach. With Tom Brady, he got 6 ranks. But at the end of the day, if you're the head coach, you've still got to work with the team around having the GOAT as your starting QB. Yes, Bill Belichick is. Even if you think it's because of Tom Brady, not Bill, as I do, he still was there. He got 6 rings. Bill Belichick is a first ballot Hall of Famer. We'll talk more about that and the player nominees later on in the week as well. But when we come back here in just a minute from now, I would like to get to this Nick Saban thing about schools firing big name head coaches. Saban says it's because, and I quote, fans think they have a voice, end quote. That's a quote. Let's address that when we come back. Rob Alonso, The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate.
That world.
All right, guys, stay right there. Coming back in just a minute. Mad World is celebrating 15 years of fear, and Mad World Haunted Attraction is bigger and better than ever before. Yes, they do have over 1.5 miles of haunted houses and trails. But this year, because they are celebrating their 15th year, they have got more scenes, more actors, more props, more effects, more thrills than ever before. But hey, maybe you're going, I love Halloween, but I'm not a big jump scare haunted house guy. That's me. And I am not too proud to say I will rock the no scare medallion. That means you can go see the attraction. I love a good story. I love good effects. I'm a big drama guy. I was a theater kid to some degree. Get off me, okay? All right? Judge me. But I love the concept of a haunted house, even if I don't want a werewolf jumping out and trying to bite my face off. You get the point. That is why Rob Brown, a 40-year-old man, will absolutely rock the no scare medallion, like your kids can and will. Have at it. But it is so much more than that, because my favorite thing about Halloween parties. They are the best. Halloween parties are the best thing. So, Halloween party, that's Mad World too, because they've got 18 holes of mini golf, virtual zombie shooting, axe throwing, carnival games, food and drink, bonfires, photo booths, and roaming characters to take your photos with, because that's fun. So here's what I want you to do. Go to their website, madworldattractions.com, madworldattractions.com. Get your tickets today. They are good for any day Mad World is open, which is this Thursday through Sunday, next Thursday through Sunday, including Halloween night. Don't wait until Halloween night. Get your tickets at madworldattractions.com and get ready for the thrill of a lifetime with the 2025 edition of Mad World. You want to hear really funny? Well, you may not think it's funny. I thought it was funny. Oh, I didn't hit the loop. Sorry, guys. Stay right there. We'll be right back. college sports. Nick Saban is kind of that guy, right? And why wouldn't he be? He is the most dominant college football coach in the history of dominant college football coaches. Well, Nick Saban has had some thoughts on the in-season firings, 9 of them at the FBS level, including a fistful of them, obviously, at Power 4 schools. Virginia Tech, UCLA, now the University of Florida, amongst them. James Franklin, who was one of those firings from Pennsylvania State University, despite, again, last year, going to not just the college football playoffs, but the college football national championship, James Franklin joined College Game Day this past weekend. Now, this was before the firing of Billy Napier, but it was, I'm not going to say widely known, but it was largely speculated that win or lose against Mississippi State, Billy Napier was going to be done. Hence, Billy Napier being booed by Florida fans off the field despite winning a football game this past weekend. James Franklin joined the game day desk, which I found, by the way, freaking hilarious, dude. Absolutely hilarious that he's like, yeah, I just got fired. 100% I'll come on game day.
They promote that big time.
Yeah, of course you do.
I wonder, did he get paid for it? And if so, does that factor into his?
I don't know. What I do know is my guy was like, yeah, I'm going to talk about it. Anyway, during that interview, Nick Saban had some thoughts for James Franklin that I forgot to switch my computer over to. One day I'll get this right, people. One day I'll get this right. All right, here are Nick Saban's thoughts to James Franklin.
You made the statement, it's not like up to you to decide what's fair or unfair when Reese answered that question. I'm going to answer it. It's unfair as hell for you to go to the Rose Bowl, the Fiesta Bowl, get in the Final Four, come out being ranked number 1 this year, an expectation that you created by what you accomplished at Penn State. And for those people not to show enough appreciation for that and gratitude for all the hard work that you did, I'm saying it's unfair.
So I would like to say that one of the philosophies of this school for a very long time has been that statements, opinions, and I think even in many cases to some degree, the truth exist on a spectrum. This is why one of my catchphrases has for a very long time been, we do not live in a binary universe where only one thing can be true. 2 things can be true about the same topic. Do I think that what happened to James Franklin is unfair? Yeah, I do. As Nick just pointed out, Fiesta Bowl, Rose Bowl, they went to the national championship semifinals last year. They came out with the number 2 team in America. That is fair. However, I also do not think it is unreasonable to say that to come to that result last year, to bring what James Franklin described as the best team that he has had at Penn State in a dozen years to this season and to lose to bad football teams. Northwestern is a bad football team. UCLA was a bad football team. Granted, they had some changes that were going on there. They had fired their head coach, Deshaun Foster, et cetera. But it's still until they're not anymore. And by the way, they've won 4 in a row. So maybe it was the head coach. But at the time, they were a bad football team with an interim coach. They lost 3 games in a row. And I think what Nick Saban is doing here is saying last year's one result was more important and bigger than the cumulative total of the 12 years that James Franklin has been at Penn State. A 12-year run where they have won nothing. Nothing. Are they a blue blood? Yes. Are they one of the most prominent and visible schools in college football? Yes. But with that, much like at Alabama, the expectations, therefore, are higher. Did they go to a bunch of bowl games? Yes. Did they finish 10-2 with regularity, average 10 wins a year? Yes. Do most schools wish they could average 10 wins a year? Yes. All of that is true as well. So I get where Saban's coming from. And I do think we have to point out in the name of fairness that, of course, Nick Saban is sympathetic to coaches. He's a coach. It's like any time that there is an awkward confrontation between media and coaches, many times I take the side of the media. A large part of that because I've been here, I've done it, I know how tough the job is, especially when your job is not sitting in a chair and bloviating about the team, but actually covering it and having to go face-to-face with coaches and actually ask them questions, especially in a situation like you are in with James Franklin, and ask tough questions, and double especially, as I've done this week, double especially in a spot where For instance, I like Shane Beamer as a dude. I like him. We've gotten on the dozen or so times we've interacted. He's been on the show. He was a tremendous interview the times we've talked to him. I've heard him on Wire to Wire. Tremendous interview on that show. I've talked to him both on and off microphone at different events. Tremendous guy. It doesn't mean that I don't have to sit here when I look at the football program and say, I don't think he's doing a good job right now. I get it. So that's why I defend the media. Saban is going to defend coaches, and I get that. But what Saban is saying is true. Yes, to getting fired a year after becoming one of the last 4 teams standing in college football, after being a team that played for one of only 2 in the Big Ten that competed for their championship last year, is it fair to say maybe running to firing immediately was a bit quick? Sure, it's fair to say. But I also think it's fair to say, Nick, you are weighting 1 year's results with more weight than the previous 11 years, where he didn't do any of that. Didn't even get close to that. Sure, won a bunch of 10-win seasons. But it's kind of like, and you know I love to run to, there's 3 things I compare everything to. Wrestling, food, relationships. Those are my 3 things, right? Because those are, 2 of those are universal. One of those, they pack out 77,000 for WrestleMania and deal with it. So the relationship one for me, because as I've said before, I've been here, I've done that. How many times do I have to go on a great first date before I go, I got to change something? It took me till 40 to get married. It took me till 38 to find so, or like, I guess 35 to meet somebody, 38 when I was like, this is the woman I am going to marry. But I had to change something. A large part of the reason I'm here, like the biggest reason I'm here, is for the job, because my career went to crap in a handbasket. Thank you, Jacksonville, Florida, butthole of America. But I also moved here because I realized across the Florida Panhandle, between Jacksonville, Destin, Pensacola, Fort Walton Beach, like that area just, I had been there too long. I got stale. I got comfortable. I came up here where I knew nobody but my previous colleague. I knew no one else because I wanted to shake it up, get out of my comfort zone, kind of figure out like, who am I as a person? After a dozen years of the same results over and over and over and over, with one good exception. And again, through all those years, I had a couple of very good relationships. And they ended for some reasons that were like, okay, amicable split. This just isn't going to work for whatever reason. Some of them ended in catastrophe. Some of them I got over somebody. Some of them somebody got under somebody else. Like they end poorly or they end fairly. Either way, they end. And at some point, you got to go, we got to shake it up. We got to do something different. A dozen years, we have accomplished nothing. We got no trophies in the trophy case. A dozen years. And now you're set up where we know you can't win 10 this year. So you can't even hang the hat on the point of emphasis of James Franklin, which is we average 10 wins a year. You're not going to be able to do that this year. So I get where Saban's coming from here. But there was one comment that blew me out of the water, which was, quote, so the people that are giving the money think they have a voice and they're just like a bunch of fans. Nick, this may shock you, but all those tens of or hundreds of millions of dollars that you earned coaching Alabama football, where do you think they came from? If there were not fans and fans didn't have a voice, my guy, you're just some guy running a gas station trying to win Miss Terry over. But that's not what happened in your life, and it's because of the fans. The fans have a voice. But here's the thing. Let's not pretend that at Florida, fans asking for a coach that isn't 500 is not fair or negative. Let's not pretend that at Penn State, fans asking, can you give us a trophy, just a trophy, a Big Ten championship, if not a natty. Let's not pretend that's not unfair. You guys are making $9, $10, $11, $12 million annually, and that's not counting Aflac commercials, Nick. That's not counting all the local endorsements that you signed, the Coca-Cola sponsorship. $9 million a year, and I think it's unfair to say, yeah, we expect results because we're the ones who are putting money in the pot that give you $9, $10, $11, $12 million a year. I like Nick Saban. Media Nick Saban. Coach Nick Saban was a pain in the ass. Media Nick Saban, I really do like. But this take feels cold, in my ever so humble opinion. Let's take a break. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Excuse me just a second, guys. I got to take some notes real quick. I will be right back. The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. I have a question that was triggered by two different stories that came yesterday into my life. Are we at a point where we are getting priced out of being sports fans? Now, I'm not talking about of a sport. I'm talking about sports. I know that many of you, I would dare say most of you, have a sport that is your favorite sport. Again, mine is basketball. I love basketball. My uncle was the biggest influence on my life as an athlete growing up. He turned me on to a love of basketball. So I love basketball. And we talked earlier in the show about I kind of got hit in the feels last night when John Tesh's round ball rock fired up for the NBA on NBC. Not because I'm like, oh, NBC does basketball better. I do think there are some networks that do certain sports better than others. But it's about the presentation. And for me, most things in life are absolutely influenced by presentation. So it was good to hear that song back on TV. It was good to hear the classic NBA on NBC announcer voice make its return to the airwaves. Like, all of that was great. But I'm a fan of the New Orleans Pelicans. My basketball team historically stinks. I'm intrigued by them this year because finally the young guys are there. And while I've been on this roller coaster every year, I'm going to, against my own better judgment, do the exact same bleeping thing with Zion Williamson that I did with Penn State this year. I believe it's going to be different. Zion showed up to the preseason looking like the friggin' Incredible Hulk, man. He is thin. He is cut. He looks, in fact, he said, and I'll take him in his word, because if I don't, I'm going to be real sad. Zion said, I feel as good as I have felt since I played at Duke. I feel as good as I have felt since I played at Duke. So I like to believe, until they prove me otherwise, so probably like Saturday, that the Pelicans are maybe a wild card threat this year in the NBA. Like probably a play-in team in the NBA this year. So I will, until they give me a reason not to, I will watch as many Pelicans games as I can. But I had this thought yesterday. And the reason I had this thought yesterday was because of the fact that I got an email. Now, we all know that not terribly long ago, ESPN rolled out their new streaming service. Now, I have ESPN streaming service because I have another subscription to something else where ESPN is part of that package. And so I get the new streaming service. But let's say, for the sake of it, that ESPN's new streaming service, which is going to have some exclusive NBA games on it, is $30 per month. Now, Amazon Prime is also going to have exclusive NBA games on it this year. I suspect that most NBA teams are going to play at least one exclusive game on Amazon Prime. But if you are like me, while I am a fan of the Birds, I will watch any two NBA teams play because, again, I love the sport. I love my team, but I love the sport. Like many of you with college football, your team's only going to play one game on a Saturday, but you, like me, are parked on the couch from 11 a.m., noon, whatever time, until 11 o'clock at night when the last big game ends. If you're an NFL guy, you are on the couch from 1 in the afternoon until Sunday Night Football goes off the air at 11:30 at night or whatever it is. You're a fan of the sport. You got your team, but you love the sport. So I love the NBA, and I watch as many NBA games as I can get my eyeballs on, which means that if I want to watch every game this year, I would need $30 a month for the ESPN app. I would need $11 a month for the Amazon Prime video subscription. And keep in mind that while many games are on NBC, Peacock is also going to have exclusive games this year. The Peacock Premium is now $15 a month. How do I know this? Because yesterday, I got an email from ESPN that says, even though I am grandfathered in with another subscription service that I have that comes with ESPN, because ESPN's adding all this stuff to their app, they just jacked my monthly rate up. Now, for me, I think it just went from like $10 to $13 a month. And granted, it's only $3 a month. But you know what other app I got an email within the last month that said the rates are going up? All of them. Hulu went up. Disney went up. Netflix went up. Xbox Game Pass just went to $30 a month. As much as I don't want to, I have to cut Game Pass. I use Game Pass not as much as Zoe, but not zero. But I have to cut it because the reality is I play, like hardcore play, a new game once every 2 months or so. A new game is effectively $60. And most of the time, not always, most of the time, those games aren't even on Game Pass. So if a brand new game drops and it's not on Game Pass, I still got to pay $60. So I have to cut Game Pass. I will just have to when I see a game on there that I want, like, all right, well, like I said, and most of the Game Pass games are like $12 if you buy them independently. There are some I wanted. I just downloaded earlier this week, Hogwarts Legacy. I'm diving into the wizarding world.
Yeah, I beat that a couple years ago.
Pretty excited about it. It's been fun.
You'll have fun with it.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it so far.
I'm sure you'll be in Slytherin.
But you can. I'm a Ravenclaw guy. Come on, man. You know that the house that relies on the upstairs.
By the way, I beat it once. I was Ravenclaw. So
love it. So, but the point is, you can buy that game for like $30, which that'll be the only thing I do on Xbox for the next 4 or 5 weeks. There's no point. Everything's going up. So, if you want to watch every NBA game, and you want to watch every NBA game, including all of your team's games, you would need $30 a month for ESPN DTC. You would need Amazon Prime Video, $11 a month. You would need Peacock Premium, $15 a month. That is roughly $56 a month for 8 months, plus the NBA Finals, if you're going to watch them streaming, are also on ESPN. So add that extra $30 for the month of June, which means that for the year, that is $477.75 to watch every NBA game. But there is a catch. And that catch, as I said, is if you want to watch every one of your specific team's games, you will have to pay for their regional sports network. The regional sports network out of New Orleans is about $20 a month. Now, is it worth it? You know, for me, like, really the only thing that they have on there is that I care about is they have some local Saints coverage, not games, but like practices and talk shows and whatever. And they have Pelicans games that aren't nationally broadcast. So I'm looking at roughly another $20 a month for 7 months, unless the Pellies make the finals. But let's say 7 months, that is around $76 a month, which means that now if I want every app without having to, you know, again, I'm not saying that anybody would or should go find streams illegally of the games, but if I wanted to watch every game legally, it would cost me, rough math back of the envelope, as the old expression goes, it would cost me roughly $618. And now here's the best part. If I wanted to watch, and now I capitalize, bold, and italicize, every game, because remember, that's with the regional to watch my team's local games. If I wanted access to other teams' regionally broadcasted games that aren't covered nationally, I am looking at that point where I would have to go get NBA League Pass. NBA League Pass, which, by the way, shows a lot of regional games, but does not cover every regional game and show none of the nationally broadcast game. That's another $109.99 a month, $110 for League Pass, which means that depending on how intense you want to be of a viewer, I watch as many Pelicans games as I can. I also like to dive into when there's like good matchups of, let's say, teams that are going to be fighting for the 7-8 seeds in the playoffs, or two teams that I think at the end of the year might be battling for play-in spots. I might have to get League Pass on top of that if you want to watch, and when I say every game, I mean every game, bold, italicized, slant. No, that's italicized. Bold, italicized, underline. That's the last thing you can do to a font. If you want to watch all of those games, you are looking at roughly $700 to be able to watch every broadcast of every game. $700. Now, I got to tell you, $700 for the season. For many of you, you might go, that's not really a big deal. Like $700, but I love the NBA. That's worth it. That's the price to go to what? 5-6 NBA games, and I'm getting every game all season long. Maybe it's not a big deal. $700 for a lot of people is a lot of money, especially because it's not like this is getting divided up over the course of 7 months. But that's still $700 for a lot of people who are living paycheck to paycheck, who know that when next Friday rolls around, my bank account's going to be hitting, $20, $30 left in it. I may not have all of that. That to me is problematic. And this is why the one commissioner I've given credit for or credit to in the not too distant past was Rob Manfred, hilariously, because Rob's also been the subject of much ire on this show. Rob Manfred, when he was looking at the next round of media rights agreements for the MLB, Rob Manfred said, our goal is to streamline. We want to cut down. We don't want to have a billion partners. But here's the reality. They can to some degree, right? They can to some degree. However, MLB teams still have their regional networks. You want to watch every Braves game? You got to have Bally Sports Atlanta. And then you've got to have MLB season ticket if you want to watch all the other regional games. And then you've got to have Amazon because they're going to have some games. You got to have Netflix who are going to have some games. And you got to have your cable. It's still, even streamlining it, to watch every game of an MLB season is still going to be probably $400 or $500 altogether. And that's today. Because as I mentioned, I just got notifications from Hulu, ESPN, Netflix, and Amazon Prime that my rates are going up. Do you think that in an era of inflation, which we are in, and bad news, it's not slowing down anytime soon, do you think that these streaming rates this year are going to be the same next year? No, they're going to go up probably multiple times between here and there. So what is a $500 to $700 range to watch every NBA game today is likely next year to be $600 to $800. And the year after that, $700 to $900. And if you work in a job where maybe you don't get a big pay raise every year, maybe you don't get a Christmas bonus, maybe you don't get even like a cost of living raise, whatever the case might be, you still have to pay the increased rates to have access. People have said for a while now, like sports viewership, ratings are still good. Attendance at MLB this year is the highest it's been since like 2017. People are still going to games. People are still watching games. But I got to think we've got to be bordering on critical mass here. We've got to be getting to a point where you go, how many different ways can you cut up coverage of your league, of your association, and still feel like the profits are greater than what you might be losing in fan base? Now, again, much like I've said with the NFL, every year people call and they go, Rob, I can't afford to take my 4 kids to an NFL game because it's $1,000 to get them on the building. And I said, look, the NFL does not care that butts are in seats, or it does not care whose butts are in seats. They just care that butts are in seats. They don't care if it's you and your 4 kids, or if it's 4 high-powered CEOs that buy a ticket and don't give a damn about the game. It's a social event. They don't care about that. It's the same thing here. They don't care that eyes are on the product as much as they care that sponsors are giving them millions or billions of dollars to put the product out there. But I got to think at some point we're going to hit critical mass where even guys like me are going to go, I can't spend $700 to watch every NBA game. I'll watch the national games, and then I'll just start guessing when we get to the playoffs. Like, I got to think we're getting there, especially with, it feels like almost monthly rate increases for all of these streaming services that now have exclusive game rights. Do you guys feel that same way? Because I am starting to get progressively more frustrated with that. All right, we'll talk more about this later on. Coming up in the next hour, Lulu Kesson joins us here in about 8 minutes to talk a little Gamecock athletics. Because we got to intro the show, and then we'll get to Lulu. So like 8:03. Then we'll give out our TMFINR awards for footballing excellence.
Not if you keep talking.
Lulu Kesson next. Sports Flash now.
Just say it. I mean, that's how time works. The OKC Thunder began their title defense with a 125-124 double overtime win over Houston last night. Last year's MVP Shai Gilgeous-Alexander scored 35, including a pair of go-ahead free throws to take the lead for good, while Chet Holmgren added 28. The Thunder shot 104 field goals on the night. I'm going to get that right eventually. The Golden State Warriors knocked off the LA Lakers 119-109 yesterday. Jimmy Butler led Golden State with 31, and Steph Curry recorded 23. Luka Doncic had 43 for the Lakers, who will not have LeBron James for a few more games with a nerve issue. Clemson wide receiver Brian Wesco Jr. will miss the rest of the season after an injury Dabo Swinney described as very serious. Wesco was injured on a punt return after being upended and landing directly on his head. Wesco was brought to a hospital in Greenville and has since been discharged and is expected to make a full recovery.
State, Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, and joining us now on the program. Why? Because she is not only an excellent journalist, not only an excellent sports personality, but now, ladies and gentlemen, she is a role model influencer of the next generation of broadcasters. She covers the Gamecock Athletic Department for the Greenville News. Joining us here on the show, the lovely Lulu Kesson. Good morning, you college professor, you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on Wednesday and moving your schedule around so I could, yes, talk to a college class tomorrow.
I love it. What's the talk about? What's the lesson? What's the theme? What are we rolling with here?
I believe I'm going to be talking about interviewing and kind of narrowing in on that part of journalism and the process and what goes into a great interview.
I love it. I love it. That is indeed a talent. Lulu Kesson joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Well, speaking of interviewing, whether it is one-on-one or just in press conferences, Correct me if I'm wrong here, Lulu Kesson, but the vibe from me, it kind of feels as if, and I don't want to say this is the first time, but it's the first time that it felt obvious to me. Kind of feels like Shane Beamer might be feeling a little bit of the heat based on the behavior that we saw in the postgame press conference on Saturday after the loss to Oklahoma, the press conference he did yesterday. Do you get the same vibe from the head ball coach?
A little bit. I mean, I think it's probably easy, and I'm not saying this as if it's, a bad take from you. I think it's probably easy to assume that he is feeling a little bit of heat, but I mean, I think it's just frustration. And I think he was honest that he feels like he's letting a lot of people down. So in the sense that, I mean, a lot of people are calling for him to be fired right now. I don't think he's reading that. And that's what's sort of putting him on edge. But I do think overall, he's just well aware his team is quite bad at the moment.
Yeah, I think that is fair, Lulu Kesson. I also have to assume, and this I think is probably more subjectively opinionated in terms of its foundation. But when we see James Franklin, who has averaged 10 games a year, when we see Billy Napier, who has been on campus for 2 years at the University of Florida, Brett Pry at Virginia Tech, we're starting to see more in-season firings than we've ever seen before, and coaches being asked to do more to restructure or change the coaching staff or change the foundation or whatever than we ever have before. I do wonder, and again, I know this is speculative at best, but I do wonder if that has any impact on the way that Shane Beamer sees the team, the season, the staff, etc. You have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I do think that it's definitely a scary time for a lot of coaches right now. And I'm not saying that, like, obviously there's a good joke, like being a fired coach in the SEC is the greatest job in the world. You get a $40 million buyout. I'm not trying to, it's a nice life in some ways, but it's hard. And I think that Shane is witnessing a lot of really great coaches lose their job, and the team is not performing right now, up to anyone's standards. I do think that, and this is sort of just kind of my opinion, what I've gathered, this is not rumblings I've heard, but it does seem like Jeremiah Donati is a very communicative and kind of hands-on athletic director. He doesn't strike me as the type of person that's going to sort of not really be involved, kind of watch from above, and then randomly bring Shane into his office after a potential, after a loss to Alabama and fire him. I think that he is the type of person that is pretty vocal and seems to be vocal about what he would want change, and seems to, at least in a general standpoint, really put forth a pretty strong effort to kind of say, how can I help make this situation better across all sports right now? And it's a difficult time. And so I do think that, a lot of coaches are getting fired. Shane is really aware of that. And that definitely, even if as safe as he feels in Columbia, it's an added stressor for sure in my eyes.
Lulu Kesson of the Greenville News here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Lulu, I will ask first and foremost, were you in that postgame press conference on Saturday, and what did you make of it? Because we obviously, one of the personalities that was in there asked Shane, are you looking at making any changes? He said, I did make a change, Jack, which was really kind of I'm not going to say the first time that he has had a short answer to a question, but it certainly felt like the most aggressive short answer. And then when the reporter tried to hone in on, well, I'm really kind of talking specifically about play calling, he hit him with the next question, which is universal for I'm done with you in a press conference setting. Were you in that room, and what were the vibes in that room when Shane kind of started getting, in my opinion, correct me if you don't agree with this, shorter and snappier than I am used to hearing him?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was in the room. I don't think any of us were surprised, to be honest. I think that it was sort of brewing. I think the frustration that he's had after these losses sort of gets more and more and more. And I mean, the week before against LSU, somebody asked his frustration levels with the pre-snap penalties, and he sort of cut them off and was like, high. It's high. It's high. Like, I wish I had a better answer for you, name, but it's high. I think that I sort of have a general rule that I feel like I'm never going to insult and I'm not suggesting you're asking me to do this, but sort of insult or critique or talk about another journalist's question just because I think it's kind of bad karma. I think what Shane saw was an opportunity to, and I've talked to this person about this, like saw an opportunity to address a question that wasn't worded perfectly from the jump. And I think that he, again, like it's an incredibly fair question to ask, but I think he was dying on the hill of, I've addressed that I will make a change when I think it's right. And every week I look at things like that is unfortunately something that he said week after week. And I think it's fair to ask specifically though the play calling. I saw it as less of Shane thinking the question was outlandish, but more so felt like he had answered it before and used it kind of as a way to shut down that conversation in the sense of I've talked about it. And I think he saw that I made the change part in the beginning, just kind of took advantage of the fact that the question wasn't really that specific at first. Granted, he interrupted him. The vibes, I don't think anyone was necessarily surprised. Like I said, I think they sort of saw it coming. And I think overall, it was an example of why we're fortunate that Shane talks to us on Sundays, because I do think that after a game, when so much goes wrong, not a lot of head coaches are going to be, able to have the most specific answers. And so that's why I'm grateful we get Shane 24 hours later after he watches film, where I feel like I'm actually able to get productive answers from him about, certain play calls or the game, because he's, able to watch it, but he sees us maybe 5 minutes after he gets off the field. He addresses the locker room really quickly and then walks in. And so after your fourth loss in fifth game, in 5 games, I'm not surprised that that was his frustration level. And I'm not surprised that his sort of general shortness was very present, because at the end of the day, like, I think that there was so much going on in his head, and I'm not sitting here making excuses, but it's just the reality of post-game press conferences. Like, we're lucky we get him pretty soon after to get a more polished version of sort of what went wrong in the game.
I think that's very fair. Lulu Kesson of the Greenville News here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Let's talk about the loss to Oklahoma for just a minute, Lulu Kesson. A week ago, we had you on, and I said, look, I think the LSU game was a winnable game. I think there were some mistakes made, some of it in play calling, some of it in execution. This game was pretty close for a half and a good chunk of the third quarter before Oklahoma kind of broke it open. And unfortunately, I feel very much the same way. There were 3 things I pointed out. The first was the red zone drive in the first portion of the game, where 3 times it felt like Oklahoma was winning at the point of attack and the play call was just an inside run that wasn't working. Then there was a 3rd and 2 where Mike Shula called a long developing pass play behind an offensive line that was also getting worked at that point. And then there was a 3rd and 7 where, okay, this is where we need to take advantage of Lenoris, roll him around a little bit and let the wide receivers get open. And you run the ball up the middle in a spot where the inside run game wasn't working there as well. I was a little frustrated this game, less with execution of the players and more with, it almost felt like the play calling was going towards the spots that we knew weren't working. Play calling being the biggest criticism of the South Carolina offense this year specifically. What was your takeaway from that game?
I think it was most certainly not the first time, but I found myself sitting there just kind of amazed at the lack of creativity in the play calling, to be honest. And to exactly your point, I agree. It really felt like things were continuously, there were attempts in spots that were just previously established not to work. And I understand that I need to kind of watch the tape a little closer in this regard, but from sort of what I've seen, the pass blocking isn't great. And I understand that with a pretty, leaky, injured O-line, like options are limited, but still it does feel like there's a total lack of creativity as of late, especially on offense and with the play calling, which it was hard to watch at times.
Yeah, I mean, that to me is kind of the best way to put it. In fact, we had a texter on Monday, Lulu, who said that this is the first time in a very long time that I turned off a game. Not because I don't ride or die with the Gamecocks, but it was just a bad game to watch. It was tough. It was slow. It was uninspiring. And kind of the biggest takeaway I had was I don't really have a positive for this game, right? Like, at least against LSU, the positive was that was a winnable game. You could see that at any given moment, had the boys gotten it right, had the play calling been better, it was very much a winnable game. I don't even have that for this Oklahoma game. And if I've got South Carolina fans who are telling me that, guys that are saying I've been watching since the 90s, the 80s, and that's the first game I've turned off in years, that leads me to believe Lulu Kesson, that I don't know that this is a salvageable year at this point, unless there is a wholesale change coming down the line. And even then, it may still be too late.
Unfortunately, I do agree. And I just think it's at a point where, I mean, anything can happen. I'm always of that belief. I'm always a diehard sports fan in the sense that anyone can beat anyone on any given night, and, you know, never count out a team fully. But looking at how the South Carolina offense operates, it's really hard to see any of these wins other than honestly Coastal. And I guess I'd have to kind of see how Clemson is performing closer to November, but it's just super difficult to trust this offense at a consistent rate right now. And the offensive line was talking to us, a couple players yesterday, and they sort of said, you know, they don't have an identity. And if you don't have an identity by this point in the season, I think that's really telling. And granted, yes, they've dealt with some injuries. They've moved people around. There's a lot of new people on the line. They just, you know, got a new coach, but still, it's definitely something that's kind of troubling and telling at the same time. And they also said, we're not building off consistent good plays. The center was like, we'll have one good play, and then everything else kind of falls apart on the next one. And it really just does seem like that right now with South Carolina. And I understand that, you know, Oklahoma is the nation's best defense, or was going into the game. And I get it was a tall task, but at the same time, that was a game that you needed to really, really, really win. And you kept it close, but didn't win at home at a really kind of pivotal point in the season. And I unfortunately think it says a lot.
So we saw, obviously, last weekend, the firing of Lonnie Teasley. Obviously, Mike Shula is now very much under fire. I think that was kind of, we talked about the press conference. I think that was kind of the gist of the question that Jack asked and caught the heat from Shano for doing so. I guess the next question is there any indication, are there any rumors swirling around Columbia that the play caller or play calling, however it's run, might change for this team, whether it is in season or at its conclusion?
I think a lot of rumors sort of went to die when asked by Shane if he's made any changes in the last 24 hours, because I think everybody just assumed that Shane, you know, I saw endless tweets that were saying, you know, if Shane cares about this fan base, Shula doesn't have a job after the game, let alone Sunday, a lot of things like that. From my understanding, and I wasn't here at this time, but from my understanding, what happened, and this was never published, this was sort of what's kind of the unpublished thing, the kind of spoken thing in Columbia, is that was Shane's first OC. He told him at some point at the end of the season, you know, you're done. And then it was, okay, but you finished the year, and this is kind of like how it's going to go. I can't sit here and say that that's happening with Mike Shula. I have no idea, but it's hard to imagine that Shula does stick around after Clemson, you know, assuming they don't make a bowl game, considering that statistically this is some of the worst offense South Carolina has had in decades. I've seen based on some stats and analysis and comparison. So no, I can't please the fan base right now and tell them that there's a million, you know, rumors people are hunting down to confirm that Shula's out. It looks like he's going to coach against his old team that fired him on Saturday. And I think that'll be interesting. That's something that I've always circled, but I'll be transparent in the fact that I think that Shane missed a really great opportunity in December to hire a really great offensive coordinator to coach Lenora Sellers. I will stand on the fact that regardless of how the season ends, that Shane didn't take advantage of the opportunity and what could have been. And at the time, I'll admit that I heard and understood him when he said continuity is important and that it's better, than learning an entirely new offense. Unfortunately, I think a little bit of trusting how last year went got him into a little bit of a tricky situation because things were going to change no matter how many offensive, weapons you brought back. I think that Shane values Lenore Sellers. I wish that there would have been other interviews in December. I mean, he admitted that he didn't really consider anyone else. And I saw a tweet the second Dowell Loggins left that I think about all the time, and that were kind of my thoughts, which was I can think of a million OCs who would be dying for the opportunity to work and coach with Lenore Sellers. And I think it was a missed opportunity, and it's tricky to see, especially for someone like Sellers.
No, I totally agree. I think a lot of the frustration for South Carolina fans has got to be that you've got a dude who, at least athletically speaking, could have, should have, would have been the best quarterback in the history of this franchise, and it just doesn't feel like that's being taken advantage of. With that being said, Lulu Kesson, real quick, let's look ahead because the Alabama Crimson Tide, who after their loss in the season opener to Florida State, have just been an absolute wagon since that point. They're coming to the crib. This is a 3:30 SEC game. And I got to tell you, with what Ty Simpson has been doing with the football, what specifically the defensive line, who maybe not as physically gifted as the front seven of LSU, they are a lot more disciplined and, in my opinion, a lot more aggressive than the way that LSU plays defense was. And we saw what LSU did to Lenoris and crew. Lou, I'm having a hard time even coming up with if South Carolina can win, this is how they would do it. Outside of Lenora Sellers just putting on the cape and wearing the underoos on the outside and going full Superman, I don't see a way for the Gamecocks to win this football game. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's funny. Last year at this time, it really felt like I saw, and I'm not trying to be like, oh, I know ball. I knew South Carolina was going to be good last year, but it really felt like they were inching closer and closer, and they were really productive, and they were putting really great things on tape. They just couldn't. They were a 2-point conversion away, or a fumble away from winning, and then they go down to Alabama, and I had this kind of similar thought, like, oof, Alabama just came off a bad loss to Vanderbilt. They're going to be so angry. And then Lenore Sellers has one of his best games of the year and is a 2-point conversion away from beating Alabama or tying it up and forcing it into overtime. It's so different. That's all to say. It's so different and does not matter in my eyes right now. I think that regardless of how badly South Carolina wants a win and needs a win, this Alabama team is operating at a level that just doesn't seem like South Carolina can compete with right now. And I think, unfortunately, it would take Alabama just having a really, really bad game. And I'm just saying that because the offense that South Carolina has put on tape is not efficient enough to compete with what, Alabama is doing. I mean, if I remember correctly, I think Alabama has almost 50 more first downs than South Carolina this season. Like the gaps in just efficiency are huge. I agree with you. I don't think I have an answer when it comes to, South Carolina wins. I think it would just have to be a perfect game with 130% effort. And I do think Alabama would have to just be, sloppy.
Yeah, I think that's it. Lulu Kesson covers the South Carolina Gamecocks for the Greenville News. Kind enough to join us here every ordinary Thursdays, jumping ahead a day to make sure we get the spot in, and we very much appreciate it. Lulu Kesson, good luck tomorrow. Don't let the kids throw you off their game, all right? They can be vicious. You got this.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much. Thank you for being flexible again, and have a good rest of your week and weekend.
You as well. Thank you very much, Lulu Kesson. Again, from the Greenville News, find her on X at Lulu, Lulu, Kesson, Kessin. If you're a Gamecock fan, she is a must follow. When we come back, let's hand out a couple of
that is not real
awards for individual excellence in footballing. We do that with the college game next on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Yes, that is correct. I forgot that Bally Sports is now FanDuel Network. But yes, you get the point. You get the point. Still got to pay for it. All right, guys, stay right there. Be right back. Got to go put the TMF INRs in order. BRB. Weekly on the show, we have an award that we hand out for footballing individual excellence. We call it the
That is not real.
awards, and we undertake a serious challenge here because we have like 7 minutes to go through all of our college football awardees. Before I get there, allow me to inform you. Our TMF INRs are handed out to teams that are in the top 25. However, if you have a performance worthy of a TMF INR in college football outside of the top 25, feel free to submit your nominee to 844-326-3663. That's the text line, or tweet your performance to me at the Rob Brown Show on X. Let's get going. Back on Friday night, the Louisville Cardinals knocked off the number 2 ranked Miami Hurricanes, and Miller Moss had himself a day. I said I was looking for 250 and 2 touchdowns and a win, 248 and 2 touchdowns for the quarterback, but he is not the TMF INR award winner. Chris Bell is wide receiver, 9 catches, 136, and a pair of touchdowns. Both of the passing touchdowns went to Chris Bell. He figured something out and unlocked what has been a very stout Miami passing defense so far this year. Chris Bell, 9 snags, $136, finds the end zone twice.
That is not real.
Is not a real dude. 24-6, the Minnesota Golden Gophers in upset number 2 of last Friday night knock off the number 25 ranked Nebraska Corn Huskers. Darius Taylor is a running back for the Golden Gophers. 24 carries, 148 yards, average 6.2 on the ground, scored a touchdown as well. PJ Flex boys get the upset dub over Matt Don't Drink the Rule-Aid and the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Darius Taylor
That is not real.
gets his first TMF INR on the year. 34-0. The Ohio State University Buckeyes blank the Wisconsin Badgers. Ordinarily, a blank sees the defense pick up a TMF INR award, especially if it is the second or third blank of the year as it is for the Buckeyes. But I think we've got to go with Julian Sayin in this game. 36 of 42, 393 yards, and 4 passing touchdowns. Now, there were some wide receivers who deserve some love. Carnell Tate, 6 snags, 111 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Jeremiah Smith, 9 grabs, 97 yards. But when I see a quarterback that gets passes completed to 10 different wide receivers, yeah, the quarterback's going to pick that one up. Julian Sayin
That is not real.
starting to look like a dude.
That's Patrick Mahomes-esque.
It's not that.
Or whatever your major quarterback of choice.
Tom Brady.
I don't think he spread it around like that, though.
10 snaps.
He threw it to Gronk and Edelman, and that was it.
38-13, the number 3 ranked Indiana Hoosiers, now number 2 ranked because of that 38-13 win over the Michigan State Spartans. Listen, I liked the performance of Omar Cooper Jr., the wide receiver, 8 snags, $115, and a touchdown. But Fernando Mendoza was an absolute dog in this one. 24 of 28 for 332 and 4 passing touchdowns. This kid is not just the Heisman frontrunner at this point, and he is. He is also the frontrunner for number 1 overall draft pick in next year's NFL draft. Fernando Mendoza.
That is not real.
Absolutely not real. 45-42, the Aggies of A&M, the Colt, knock off the Arkansas Razorbacks. I went back and forth on this one, too. I don't like handing so many TMF INRs to so many quarterbacks, but we had a good quarterback day. On a day where the Aggies rushed the ball 35 times, they threw it 32. Marcel Reed completed 23 of those efforts for 280 yards and 3 touchdowns, all 3 going to a different Aggie wide receiver, Marcel Reed.
That is not real.
And is part of the reason that the Aggies may be your SEC champions this year. 43-35, the Georgia Bulldogs knock off the 5th ranked Ole Miss running Rebels. They had a good day on the ground. Nate Frazier, 72 of the Bulldogs, 221 rushing yards. Zachariah Branch, 8 grabs, 71 yards, no touchdowns. I'm going to give a dual TMF INR award here. And the dual is going to go to Gunnar Stockton, the quarterback, 26 of 31, 289 yards and 4 touchdowns. 3 of those touchdowns went to Lawson Lucky, which aside from just being a great name, Lawson Lucky, The 6'4", 240-pound tight end became the best red zone threat of the weekend. Of those 4 touchdowns, 3 of them went to Lawson Lucky. Lawson Lucky, a name I just like saying, and Gunnar Stockton.
That is not real.
Catching some TMF INRs.
Sure you don't want to say it one more time?
Lawson Lucky. I did. Thank you. 37-20, the Alabama Crimson Tide have established themselves as a contender. Mick. 37-20 win over the number 11 ranked Tennessee Volunteers in what is one of the nation's most underappreciated rivalry games. Look, I'm not trying to go quarterback, but Ty Simpson picks up his 3rd on the year. 19 of 29, 253, 2 touchdowns. They ran the Alabama Crimson Tide did for 120 yards in this game. Nobody had more than 49 rushes. But Ty Simpson put the ball into the hands of 8 different Crimson Tiders, all of them with positive yardage. Ryan Williams finally showed back up on the scene. 5 snags, 87 yards. Ty Simpson right now is the most efficient ball handler in college football.
That is not real.
Let's go to Arizona State. They get the upset win over the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Now, in fairness, the Red Raiders did not have their starting wide receiver, running back, or quarterback in this game. Didn't matter because the boys figured it out. Another dual TMF INR award. We're going to go with Sam Levitt. He's been injured, banged up, made his way back onto the field for the Sun Devils, 28 of 47, 319 and a touch. 10 of those snags, 105 yards went to Jordan Tyson. Jaron Hamilton had 3 grabs for 101, but Tyson was all over the field. 10 snags, a $105, and a tutty. Sam Levitt, Jordan Tyson.
That is not real.
The Oregon Ducks put 56 up on the State College of New Jersey, the Rutgers Scarlet Knights, and Dante Moore, once again, a dog, but it is another dual TMF INR. Dante Moore, 15 of 20, 294 touchdowns, and a QBR of 99 in this game. But the field was open because Noah Whittington, everybody knows the Ducks, they can throw it all over the football field. Turns out they can run a little bit too. 415 yards rushing. Davison had 4 for 100, but Noah Whittington was the workhorse. 11 totes, 125, and 2 touchdowns. Whittington and Moore.
That is not real.
For the Oregon Ducks. The Vanderbilt Commodores get a 31-24 win over the LSU Tigers in this one. Listen, the numbers may not blow you away. 14 of 22 for a $160 through the air and 1 touchdown for Diego Pavia. But had 17 carries for 86 and 2 rushing touchdowns. And oh, by the way, could have had a 3rd because on the final drive, when he could have punched one in a long carry, he just goes down at the 2 and says, ball game, Los Tigres, Diego Pavia.
That is not real.
Stacking them up. 27-18, the rambling wreck of Georgia Tech get the win over the Duke Blue Devils. Haynes King, who had a couple of tough games there, 14 totes, 120 on the ground, and a touchdown. Haynes King.
That is not real.
As my rambling wreck knock off the Blue Devils, they were an underdog in that game. Rob Brown knows ball. He tried to tell you, bet everything on the Blue Devils. Here we are. 24-34, the Irish of Notre Dame reinvigorate their rivalry game with the SC Trojans with a 10-point win. Jeremiah Love was another guy. I said, if you can't get this guy going, Notre Dame can't win. 24 carries, 228 yards, and a touchdown for Jeremiah Love.
That is not real.
Back on the scene. The Boomer Sooners 26-7 over your beloved Gamecocks. I got to go defense on this one, specifically the Oklahoma defensive line. They held Lenora Sellers to nothing. 17 of 25 for 124 and a rushing touchdown. On the ground, Lenora Sellers -9 rushing yards. There were 3 different Gamecocks that had negative rushing yards in this game. Attaway -2, Fuller -3, Sellers -9. Faced on the most successful rusher, only 50 yards on the game. The OUDL
That is not real.
gets home a DN and TMF INR. 23-17, Mizzou puts the 4th loss on the Auburn Tigers. Bo Pribula once again, 23 of 40, 252. He did get picked off twice in this game. One of them a NHF, not his fault. The other pretty bad, but when they needed to do to gut one out, he got it. Ahmad Hardy, only 58 rushing yards. Pribula carried this team.
That is not real.
And helped them get that dub. Let's go to, I got time for one more. Let's go to the 16-13 Texas win over the Kentucky Wildcats. This team is not very good. You know what? I'm going to take it back. I don't think there is a TMF INR in this game. I really thought I was going to give one to Arch, but I can't do 12 of 27 for 132, no touchdowns, no picks. I can't do it to their
barely beating Kentucky.
Yeah, I can't give it to their leading rusher, Quintrevion Wisner, 12 carries, 37 yards and 1 touchdown, and their leading receiver, 37 yards. Texas just isn't that good, man.
Wait, I got it. Give it to Arch's ears.
Wow. A big ears joke from the great one.
And then you don't do it. Wow.
I got big ears too. I can't do anything.
Oh, no, you don't. Not like that. You
that.
don't.
All right, let's do one more. Devon Dampier, the Utah Utes quarterback. They went over the number 15, fall to the number 15th ranked BY Cougar. He was the best player in this game. 20 of 36, 244, 2 touchdowns. Our only loser TMF INR award of the week.
That is not real.
When we come back, our NFL TMF INRs are next on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
To realize it wasn't allowed to crack on Arch Manning. Okay.
I can't hang on the drum for you. I just keep the hair a little longer.
No, you don't.
I mean, they're not. What's the NFL?
Andrew Siciliano.
Yeah, they're not Siciliano.
Yeah, they're not Paul Feinbaum ears.
Not Feinbaum ears.
Right.
All right, guys, one more. Get our NFL ones lined up. Y'all stay right there. The Rob Brown Show on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate, handing out the TRBS Awards for Individual Excellence in Footballing. The
That is not real.
awards for the footballing weekend. We usually do this on Tuesdays, but the week got scrambled up, and also I'm bad at my job sometimes. So we're doing it today. We did our college awards. Again, if you have a submission that does not make the auto list, the initial list for the TMF INRs, feel free to submit them on our text line at 844-326-3663 or to tweet them to me at The Rob Brown Show. You may award some TMF INRs as well, because unlike Nick Saban, I do believe that the fans have a voice. 33-31, the Cincinnati Bengals get the upset over the Pittsburgh Steelers. Who else could I give it to? I mean, maybe Chase Brown, 11 carries, 108 yards. But we got to give it to Joe Flacco, right? Joe Flacco, 31 of 47, 3 touchdowns, 342 yards, was sacked twice, but also had a long third down scramble. Yes, Joe Flacco had the most clutch run in this game. Joe Flacco
is not real.
Might actually not be real. He may be more cyborg than man at this point, the way he's balling out. The LA Rams, 35-7, they punk the Jacksonville Jags. I really thought this was going to be a better game than it turned out to be, but it was not. Now, if I told you that the TMF INR award went to a quarterback who only threw for 182, you might say, come on, Rob, that's bananas. But it is going to Matthew Stafford for 21 of 33 for 182 yards for 2 reasons. Number one, the Rams only ran for 89 yards in this game. Kyron Williams had 54, leading all rushers in the game. As far as receiving the football, the leading receiver for the Rams was Colby Parkinson with 3 grabs for 47 yards. Devontae Adams had 5 for 35, but he had 3 touchdowns. Of the 5 that Matt Stafford threw, Matty Ice Stafford, 21 of 33, 182, and 5 touchdowns, a QB rating of 117.7. Matt Stafford.
That is not real.
I gotta tell you, I am happy for Matt Stafford. I really am. I'm happy for the success that he's found. 26-14, the Chicago Bears knock off our beloved New Orleans Saints in this contest. It is not Caleb Williams, 15 of 26, 172. It was very close to being Spencer Rattler, 20 of 32, 233, and 2 touchdowns, but he did get picked off 3 times. 2 of them, not his faults, and our offensive line stank in that game. The TMF INR award goes to DeAndre Swift. 19 totes, 124 yards, and a touchdown on the day. Sliced and diced the Saints defense, which has not been awful against the run. DeAndre Swift got it done. 19 of 124 and a tutty.
That is not real.
DeAndre Swift catching the TMF INR. 31-6, the Miami Dolphins are, I believe the kids say, cooked, Jim. I don't believe they say. I know that's what they say, as I am still young, hip, and got it.
Who the heck is Jim?
I don't know. Pick your favorite Jim. Harbaugh, that one from Star Trek, Nance. Pick your favorite Jim. That's who I'm talking to. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give it to the Cleveland Browns defense in this one. 31 points for the Browns. And I got to tell you, you know what? I'll give the duel here. I'm going to give it to the Cleveland Browns defense. I think Quinshon Judkins gets the nod as well. Only 84 yards on 25 carries, which is less than 3.5 yards per carry with 25 in the game. But he did score 3 times in this game, too. In the red zone, the Browns defense, Brad's offense couldn't get it done. Dylan Gabriel, 13 of 18, 116, no touches, no picks in this game. But Quinshon Judkins was able to finish off some drives for this squad. He did have a 46-yarder mixed in there, but 84 yards, 3 punchies for Quinshon Judkins. Give it to him and the Browns defense that held Tua Tagovailoa to 100 yards, 3 interceptions, 99 total rushing yards for the Dolphins. Browns defense, Quinshon Judkins.
That is not real.
31-13, the New England Patriots get revenge over the Tennessee Titans in this one. I got to tell you, you don't see a QB rating very often in the 130s. Guys, I don't think it's a joke anymore. I think we might have to start having a conversation about Drake May as this year's NFL MVP. We've talked about Baker. We've talked about Patty Mahomes. The Patriots are 5-2. They are atop the AFC East, something that I don't think any of us predicted would happen at any point this year. But they beat the Bills, and they hold the top spot in that division. Drake May, 21 of 23 for 222 yards and 2 touchdowns in the game, a QB rating of 135.9. That's unbelievable. Drake May.
That is not real.
I owe him an edible arrangements and a sympathy, or not a sympathy card, an I'm sorry card, because I didn't see Drake May being him and he is him. 31-0. The Chiefs blank the Las Vegas Raiders. And now this is a spot where ordinarily the line of 26 for 35 for 3 touchdowns and a 126 passer rating would get Patrick Mahomes a TMF-INR award. But unlike college football, shutouts don't happen in the NFL. I want you to think about it. With the new kickoff rules and with most teams having a kicker that is good from 50 more often than not, 2 first downs is a point on the board for an NFL team. 2 first downs is a field goal in today's NFL for the average return. If you get a good return, it's a first down, puts you in field goal range. So for a defense to pitch a shutout against even the worst team in the league is impressive. Y'all, the Chiefs defense is back.
That is not real.
28-22. The Philadelphia Eagles knock off the Minnesota Vikings. They get back to their winning ways. Now, I went a couple of different ways. I looked at Devontae Smith, 9 grabs, 183 yards and a touchdown. A.J. Brown, 4 grabs, 121 yards and 2 touchdowns. And, of course, I looked at Jalen Hurts, 19 of 23, 326, and 3 touchdowns. But his cold take, Jim, noted Eagles fans just showed up and said, nominating Jalen Hurts for his perfect passer rating, not bad for the 32nd best quarterback in the league, supposedly. I'm going to tell you, Jalen Hurts is catching a TMF-INR award, but I am going to say this. As much hell as I have given him, and I'm included in that group of people you are being passive-aggressive against, Jim, I didn't think this passing offense had this dog in him. I am giving it to the Eagles' passing attack at large. Jalen Hurts, 19 of 23, 326, 3 tutties. Devontae Smith, 9, 183 and a touch. A.J. Brown, 4, 121 and a touch. The Eagles' passing attack.
That is not real.
The Panthers go up to New York City and knock off the Jets, 13-6, the final in this one. Bryce Young, 15 of 25, a $138 and a tutty before he had to leave the game with what we now know is a high ankle sprain. Andy Dalton would check in, 4 of 7, 60 yards on the day. I'm going to give it to Xavier Legette, ladies and gentlemen. 9 snags, 92 yards, and Bryce's lone touchdown on the day. The Panthers did not have a rushing touchdown. They had only 1 offensive touchdown in this game. It belonged to XL. For a dude that 3 weeks ago sounded like he was genuinely clinically depressed, I hope this is his breakout game. I hope this is his coming out party. I hope that we get this XL 9 for 92 in the tutty. Xavier Legette
is not real.
Catches his first TMF-INR of the year. 33-32, the Denver Broncos put up 33 points in the final quarter. They went 0-0-0 in quarters 1, 2, and 3. They trailed 22-0. And the Giants scored 13 in the fourth quarter. But the Broncos put up 33 in the third quarter. 27 of 50, 279, and 2 touchdowns for Bo Nix. Listen, this game should not catch a TMF-INR. But the fact that the Broncos behind Bo Nix put up 33 points in the fourth quarter, I got to give one to Bo Nix.
That is not real.
38-24. The Indianapolis Colts have knocked off the Los Angeles Chargers. I went back and forth on this one. Jonathan Taylor, 1694. Danny Dimes, 23 of 34, 2 touchdowns. Alec Pierce, 5 grabs, 98 yards. I think we've got to make this one a dual TMF-INR, and I think it's got to go to Danny Dimes and Jonathan Taylor. Since John Taylor showed back up, 2 touchdowns last week, 3 touchdowns this week, Jonathan Taylor looks like prime Jonathan Taylor again, and it has opened the field up even more for Danny Dimes, and you still got to execute. Daniel Jones, 23 of 34, 288 and 2 touchdowns. John Taylor, 16 for 94 and 3 touchdowns.
That is not real.
Win this week's dual TMF-INR for that one. 44-22, the Dallas Cowboys knock off the Washington Commanders in this one. Jaden Daniels threw 22 passes before he had to leave the game. Marcus Mariota checking back in on this one. Daniels was not playing bad football. 12 of 22, 156 and a touchdown, a QB rating of 92 before he checked out. I went back and forth where to go on this one. Javonte Williams, 19 carries, a $116 and a touchdown. CeeDee Lamb, 5 snags, 110 and a touchdown. I think I'm going to give it to Dak Prescott. And I usually try to look away from quarterbacks. Quarterbacks get all the attention, don't love it all the time. but I'm going to give it to Dak here because this was 100% command of this offense. 100% this offense worked because of Dak Prescott. 21 of 30, 264, 3 touchdown passes on a day that the Cowboys ran for more than they passed. 31 rushing attempts, 30 passing, but it was all Dak Prescott.
That is not real.
Monday Night Football, 27-23. The Green Bay Packers knock off the Arizona Cardinals in that one. Nobody really jumped off the page for me in this one. It was not the best game of the day. There's not really anybody that blew me away. So I think I just have to, because we have to give it to somebody, I think I've got to go with Jordan Love. 19 of 29, 179, and 1 touchdown. Not the best stat line. But considering he was out there dueling with Jacoby Brissett, you know what? Screw it. I'm giving a losing TMFINR award here. I don't do that very often. The Cardinals are a 2-5 football team, 1-3 at the crib. The Cardinals were up against a Packers team that has shown some dominance earlier in the season. And on late notice, Jacoby Brissett, yes, that journeyman, had to be plugged in for Kyler Murray. 25 of 36, 279, 2 touchdowns, and a 1.78 KDA in Call of Duty that night, I assume. Because, he had to go home and play with Kyler.
Has Jacoby made it on the backup commercials yet?
I don't think he has, but this one's got to get him there, right? Like, I think he's got to make it after this performance. Let's go a losing TMFINR to Jacoby Brissett, 25 of 36, 279, 2 touchdowns, as the Cardinals keep it close with the Pack. And we wrap it up with a 20-10 San Francisco 49ers victory over the Atlanta Falcons. Look, Mac Jones was signed, 17 of 26, 152. But it was Christian McCaffrey. Of course it was. 24 carries, 129 on the ground with 2 touchdowns, 7 grabs for 72 yards through the air, targeted 8, completed 7 for 72, 24 totes, $129 and 2 touchdowns. Prime Christian McCaffrey.
That is not real.
For the 49ers as they knock off a suddenly surging, but now maybe not after that, Atlanta Falcons team.
Imagine if he had stayed healthy his entire career.
Dude, he honestly, I think if Christian McCaffrey hadn't missed the time that he has missed with injury, Christian McCaffrey would be in the running for the greatest running back in the history of the NFL. Genuinely, he'd be up there with Barry Sanders. He'd be up there with some of the all-time greats, in my opinion. All right, let's take a break. When we come back in the final hour, I got some audio blitz, mainly because there's one really hilarious clip from K-Perk that I got to play. Not even a Perk guy, except for this. So we'll get to the audio blitz next. Then we'll circle back around to some of those impactful college football stories we talked about, maybe a little hockey, a little NBA, and more. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. This is a world-class sports flash from the great one.
I hope so. The OKC Thunder began their title defense with a 125-124 double overtime win over Houston last night. Last year's MVP Shai Gilgeous-Alexander scored 35, including a pair of go-ahead free throws to take the lead for good, while Chet Holmgren added 28. Golden State Warriors knocked off the LA Lakers 119-109 yesterday. Jimmy Butler led Golden State with 31, and Steph Curry recorded 23. Luka Doncic had 43 for the Lakers, who will not have LeBron James for a few more games with a nerve issue, which I think is in his glutes, it's in his butt. Clemson wide receiver Bryant Wesco Jr. don't quote me on that, I may be wrong, will miss the rest of the season after an injury Dabo Swinney described as very serious. Wesco was injured on a punt return after being upended and landing directly on his head. Wesco was brought to a hospital in Greenville and has since been discharged and is expected to make a full recovery.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, the Great Malonzo, and you. Final hour of the show getting underway now. If you want to be a part of it, the phone line is open at 844-326-3663, 844-FANFONE. You can use that number to call the show, get on the air. You can use that number to text the show. I will read your thoughts on the air, and we will respond to them in time. But we usually do this at 8 o'clock. However, we had the lovely Lulu Kesson who had to bump up a day. She's out tomorrow, so we do the audio blitz. Now I've got some sound bites that I would like to play for you here on the show. I will start with this one. How many times have you heard old Rob Brown say, ownership, front office administration, general managers, as fans, they obviously are not in the news nearly as often as the athletes of a team are. However, I genuinely believe that the owner, the general manager, the front office staff can have as much, if not more hand in the results of a football franchise, specifically in the NFL, but true of any professional franchise, than anybody who will ever put on the shoulder pads, the jersey, the uniform, whatever. Woody Johnson is the owner of the New York Jets. The New York Jets have been, and I mean it when I say historically bad. They are, once again, historically bad now. They are historically bad to the standpoint of embarrassment. This year, even more than most years. Of course, they have a new head coach in Aaron Glenn. They have a new quarterback in Justin Fields. And yet the Jets are, after a loss to the Carolina Panthers this weekend, the only winless team in the National Football League. Well, as fans outside the Jets know, you can look at Woody Johnson, both the most hilariously named person in sports since Richard Pound was in charge of the Olympics a few years ago. He is also an owner that consistently finds new and improved and impressive ways to make his football team bad. He was asked about the confidence level in his new head coach, Aaron Glenn, after an 0-7 start.
Well, it looks like he's turning around parts of it. You know, it's hard when you have a quarterback with, with a rating that we got. You know, he has the ability, but something just is not jiving. But if you look at any head coach with a quarterback like that, you're going to see similar results if you go across the league. You have to play consistently with, at that position, and that's what we're going to try to do for the remainder of the season.
So what gives you hope then?
I just think defense, special teams are doing better. Defense is pretty good, and if we can just complete a pass, it would look good. We got to complete some passes. You got to convince them that you can do something. Otherwise, it's hard to have a game that you could win.
Okay, so Woody Johnson says, hey, look, I think that Aaron Glenn, the new head coach, is improving certain aspects of the game. I think there are certain spots where the team is getting better. But did you catch the second part of that? Because in the second part of that, he threw Justin Fields under the bus, and then he ran over him, and then he got out and he looked at Justin Fields and he said, oh, you're not quite done yet. And he got back on the bus, and then he backed the bus back over Justin Fields. He said, look, when you got a quarterback that has a rating like he does, and is playing that bad, and you can't complete passes, it's like, bud, is it me? Or isn't that kind of part of the job of your coaching staff, starting with your head coach? Now, you brought in a defensive coordinator. You're going to be a defensive-minded team, I get it. But at the same time, if you brought this kid in, and we know he's not as bad as he looks right now, because even as bad as he looks right now, he was better in Chicago. He was drastically better in Pittsburgh when he got the opportunity to play. Guy, we know he's better than what he's showing you right now. And if I know he's better than what's being shown right now, then of course it's on Aaron Glenn. I cannot live in a world where Woody Johnson decided in this moment, no. I'm going to defend my 0-7 head coach by throwing my quarterback under the bus.
How's it not Woody Johnson's fault?
It is. It always has been.
Yeah. Okay.
That's why this is so infuriating.
By the way, anytime I get the chance, I will talk about how my wife made fun of Woody Johnson he was in the booth next to us at a Panthers game, and she kept laughing at him and pointing at him, and he was ticked off, and it was hilarious, and she didn't know who he was, and I told her afterwards.
Deserved.
Because he was getting mad because the Panthers, and I don't remember if it's preseason or regular season game, was whooping the Jets' butt, and he was like calling down to the field and yelling and screaming, and she was laughing, and it was hilarious.
Everything that David Tepper was, Woody Johnson is. Woody Johnson is a trust fund billionaire who was born into being the head of the biggest pharmaceutical company on earth, and thinks that because he won the genetic lottery of being born into a billionaire family and literally handed his entire wealth and position, that he just knows the most about everything. And the answer is no, Woody, as is evidenced by the fact that this team has sucked booty cheeks since you took over. Maybe you don't, bud. Maybe just stick to the medicine stuff.
Do you remember an owner doing this?
David Tepper.
No, I mean saying these things other than Jerry Jones.
Not off the top of my head, but that's absolutely not a no. Absolutely not a no. George Kittle, tight end for the San Francisco 49ers, big wrestling guy.
I'm going to say future WWE superstar, yes.
Yeah, maybe, Lonzo.
Maybe sooner than later.
Maybe, unless he goes for his other dream.
I mean, one thing I do want to do competitively, I want to get into curling, ice curling.
Really?
Yeah.
You think you could do it?
Well, me and 3 of my buddies finished 3rd place in the curling league in Nashville.
Come on.
Yeah, first time ever doing it. We were like 4th out of 9 teams.
9?
Yeah.
So you're halfway there.
Yeah.
Not bad for our first time ever.
Okay, so we'll
like Jared Allen, former football player. He has a team. I think they finished 2nd or 3rd at nationals.
Come on.
And the winner of nationals gets to represent the USA in the Olympics. It's like,
no way.
Can you imagine winning the gold in the Olympics for curling?
Curling?
How amazing.
You'd have to train for it, right?
There's a facility.
Have you trained?
Most I've ever done is a league.
I love that you think that you can just.
No, I don't.
Yeah, I'm going to go to the Olympics in curling afterwards.
Dream.
I've never trained for it. These people are putting their blood, sweat, and tears into scraping. Doing this.
I'm a scraper.
Are you a scraper?
Oh, I do it all.
You're not the.
No, you do them both. You rotate.
You have to lunge so far to do that.
You rotate through everything.
It's awful.
Yeah, you toss the stones and then you rotate the sweepers and stuff like that.
That is George Kittle not just being interviewed about curling, but being interviewed by The Miz.
So The Miz was chastising him. Okay,
yes.
I was trying to figure out who was chastising him because we both know that he could do this.
Absolutely. And I will go one step further. As many of you who were not with us during the last Winter Olympics will learn coming up in February for the next Winter Olympics, Rob Brown bleeping loves curling. And there's a lot of reason. Number one, it's such a weird ass sport that I can't help but be drawn to it. And number two, because it is, and I mean this, across all of them, I think it's the only Olympic sport that I'm like, I could do that. If I genuinely got on a team, practice a bunch, learn the game, dedicated myself to it, I could be a curler. Look at the U.S. curling team that goes and wins golds and silvers and bronzes every year.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun.
They look like me.
When we went and learned how to curl.
Yeah, it's a blast.
If I had better knees, yeah, for sure. I mean, it is fun, and it's not anyone can do it. It's not. You have to dedicate to it. There is a skill to it, but when you get out there and do it a little bit and you think, hey, you know what? I probably could do this.
Yeah. Like in fact,
all right, you people listening, you probably couldn't do it. But us, that's different. He never includes me, but I did pretty well too. So yeah, but if you're listening, you can't do it, but we could because we have the athletic prowess that George Kittle also has.
Elite tier athletes. When we went curling a couple of years ago with the Palmetto Curling Club, shout out and thanks for having us. When we went
except
curling,
for the lady who said that my name sounded like a Muppet, I will forever curse you.
When we went curling with the Palmetto Curling Club a couple of years ago, our instructor, a Canadian gentleman by the name of Rene, who I have never forgotten, he's an amazing dude. I got to tell you, it was probably one of the few times that I've done a thing and got told by somebody who was an expert, you got the form, you're kind of a natural. And I was like, you don't have to butter me up because I wasn't. I'm like, you're right. I got this. I'm pretty damn good at this. So I think I love curling because it is legitimately the only, period, point blank, end of discussion, the only Olympic sport that I think I could genuinely, like, if I dedicated myself for 4 or 5, 6 years, I could go to the Olympics in 2030, the next Winter Olympics. I think I could go 1,000%.
Until they probably add like beer pong or something. You probably could.
In which case, Team USA, we're bringing it all home if they put beer pong in this thing. Hey, highlight of the Chiefs game. Y'all all trying to make it that it was Patrick Mahomes' no-look peripheral vision pass.
Yeah, stop it. It was a no-look pass. That's just so annoying.
That wasn't Patrick Mahomes' best highlight. Patrick Mahomes' best highlight was the Chiefs on a 4th and 1, trying to draw the Raiders off sides. And Patrick Mahomes decided to put, and he called it this, his acting chops on display. Now, it's game audio from a parabolic mic, and obviously I had to drop 2 dump buttons because of Patrick Mahomes' filthy, disgusting mouth, embarrassing mouth on Patrick Mahomes. It was hilarious.
On 4th and a foot. Try to draw him offside. Sorry. Mahomes says, Coach, it doesn't. Oh, there they go. He was faking it. There they go. You would give it up on that one. You thought for sure it was a draw, didn't you?
Mahomes makes his way under center. Then he stands up and he says out loud, and I quote, "This never works, man." Tony Romo, completely caught off guard, is like, oh, ha, ha, ha. And don't get me wrong, so was I. It was objectively hilarious for him to stand up and go, this never bleeping works, man. It was only outdone by 4 or 5 years ago when Jameis Winston did the same thing for, I think it may have been with the Saints. I don't remember. Whoever he was quarterbacking for that year. And he goes up and he gets under center and he calls for the fake snap. It doesn't go. And Jameis goes, somebody jump off sides, damn. And it was, you heard it on the mic, it was hilarious. Patrick Mahomes said, this never works, man. And Romo lost his mind. So did I. But then the Chiefs snapped the ball and they got the first down because the Raiders went to sleep. It was incredible.
Did you hear his response about he was using his State Farm acting?
Yeah, I did. That's what I said. Like Mahomes said, you know, I talked to the boys about it. We came up with that, and I was like, let me use his words, let me use my acting skills to pull this off. And he worked. Because
Andy Reid allows them to 1 day a week come up with their own plays, and he will look at them, and sometimes he will pick one of their plays. And I think that's awesome.
Without a doubt. All right, a couple more clips for you here on the Audio Blitz. Last night was a phenomenal night as the NBA on NBC returned. Now, again, don't really care about the network. It was more about the nostalgia feeling that came into play when John Tesh's Round Ball Rock opened up the broadcast. But I really had that combined with another clip from another outfit. I really had a dear God, I am old moment. Let me start with the NBA. When they started the NBA on NBC broadcast last night, the very first thing they showed was a clip of the current stars in the NBA. SGA, Jimmy Buckets, some of the younger guys. And they said, what's your best memory of the NBA on NBC from back in the day? Nope, that's the wrong one. Hang on. That's not the one I needed. I'll come back to that one. Here it is.
All right, Rod. When I say the NBA on NBC, what memories come to mind?
I have none, zero. 1990s?
Oh, I need a memory from there.
I have no idea.
I wasn't old enough.
I wasn't alive, man.
Yeah, you're joking, right? No.
Ha 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 ha, jackasses. Ha 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 ha. I wasn't alive. Ha ha. Okay, that was old guy moment number 1.
47. What are you gonna do?
Then old guy moment number 2, because on the Kelsey Brothers podcast, the New Heights podcast, their next episode is going to feature. And when I say flashing back as a young basketball fan, I mean it when I say one of my favorite guys of all time, because I don't think there has ever been, and to this day is not. We can talk about Kyrie and some of these great SGA, some of these great ball handlers. I don't think there's ever been a better ball handler / assist guy than Allen Iverson. AI, the answer. And AI is the next guest on the Kelsey Brothers pod. Well, they went ahead and started promoting it by dropping some clips of AI, and this is one.
I'm 50 years old now, and I be out there and shooting with my daughter. We outside, and I'm like, I'll wake up the next day, and I'm like, damn, I won't do nothing but shooting jumpers. You know what I mean? Like, while it lasts, enjoy it, because when it's over, it's over. Like, Allen Iverson is still here, but the answer is going to heaven. It's over.
AI, I feel you, dog. I feel you. And the absolute worst part about that is that if Allen the answer AI Iverson is like, I put up some jump shots with my daughter and I wake up the next day like, damn, all I did was shoot some jumpers. Buddy, I'm cooked. I'm toast. I'm done. AI, a dude that was already was not a household name until I was a grown man when AI was in his prime. That step over on the sideline where he hit the three, and I forget the dude he did it to, but he literally steps over a dude who went down to the ground on the crossover J. It's one of the greatest basketball moments of all time. I was a grown-ass man when that happened, and now I got AI going, I'm 50, and jump shots make me sore now. I am cooked, my dudes. All right, last clip, then we'll take a break, and I do have a couple more sound bites, but 4 segments we'll do as the show rolls on. I have said before, Kendrick Perkins on ESPN. Not a guy whose basketball takes I love. I don't think they're deep. I don't think they're nuanced. I think Kendrick Perkins I think he's a great personality. And I've gone so far as to say, I think Kendrick Perkins is a dude that I would love to go to the club and get a couple of beers with, go to the bar, have a couple of drinks, talk some basketball. But I just don't think, he's not my favorite guy on the air. Well, the NBA season started yesterday, which means ESPN started to ramp up their NBA coverage. They had K-Perk on to talk basketball with one of the people on ESPN that I do very much love, Elle Duncan. I love Elle. I love Elle because her WNBA coverage is absolutely elite. She is the one that during the NBA All-Star Game said, this All-Star Game, much like a girl's trip to Cancun, there's no defense. It was a great line, and I went, damn, Elle. She don't care. I love her. So Elle was interviewing Kendrick Perkins. The interview was coming to its conclusion, and she said, because dealing with K-Perk can sometimes generate a little pressure in the old noodle, that she needed some ibuprofen. And K-Perk decided to drop an all-time bar.
Well done.
You ready for this one?
God.
What
okay.
you need ibuprofen for when you have a perk?
The lean back. I literally can't stand you, and I love you. Coming up.
So 2 things about that. 3 things about that. Number 1, what you need an ibuprofen for when you can have a perk is an all-time terrible line. I mean, incredible. I want you to know, and this is true, that every now and then Rob Brown will drop bars like that on his wife. I love hitting the wife with the cheesy one-liners. Do you remember the old FedEx slogan from back in the day when they had their big campaign going? I will regularly hit my wife when she comes home from work or she steps out of the shower and she's getting dressed. Regularly, Lonzo will hit the wife with, hey, girl, what can Brown do for you?
Listen.
It's a bar.
Yeah, you should. I don't see why that's bad.
I don't either.
That's a good thing right there.
I don't either.
You taking advantage of your situation and your name?
It's perfect. I will regularly hit her with, what can Brown do for you? And the answer most of the time is exactly the same as Elle just gave K-Perk, which was to go, ugh, I love you, but I can't stand you.
I thought it was going to be take out the trash. That's what Brown can do.
I mean, usually it is but no. I cannot say I drop bars on the wife all the time. And the thing is, what I think is frustrating for her is I drop these lines with great, I'm being serious, right? Sometimes they're sup girl lines. And sometimes they're me really trying to be a sweet guy. I am a romantic at heart. I had one the other day. I can't remember what it was. I said something about football and she said, yeah, I know it's a big part of your life. And I went, not as big as you are. And I'm like, damn, that's a line. Women should be falling all over themselves. And she looked at me, and Lonzo, her eyes rolled so far back, it was like a casino slot machine. They came all the way around back the other side, and she made the sound, ugh.
Maybe it's your facial expressions.
No, it's because I am genuinely sincere to the point of cheesy, and I usually get the exact same response.
Well done.
You ready for this one?
God.
What you need ibuprofen for when you have a perk?
The lean back. I literally can't stand you, and I love you.
That's
it's definitely a potential HR violation. The way he said it, what he's meaning, or what we think he's meaning behind it, and he's done. He's done. They're
He's
going to get rid
absolutely
of him.
not done. He's
You'll
absolutely not
never
done.
see him on ESPN again.
Yes, you will. You'll see him on ESPN before we walk out of this studio. I guarantee it. Look, I'm not saying that that's a line you go drop on your coworker. I'm not. I am saying, and I have been told this by the ladies, because as I pointed out many times on this show as well, Rob Brown has always been the non-threatening friend, male friend. I have had and remain having in my life a huge number of girl friends because I'm not threatening. I never have been. I recognize that about me. And I have had the conversation with women before because I have seen it. I have seen bad lines work on women. And I'm like, that was the cheesiest, dumbest line of all time. And I've been told, if you drop it with confidence, even if it's cheesy, if you drop it with confidence and you own it, it's sexy if you can pull that. If you can drop a cheesy ass pickup line, but do it with immense confidence, it can work. That is a bar that once you introduce yourself, if Kay Park was to walk up to a young lady in a drinking facility and say, my name's Kendrick Perkins, and then she starts to say, I got a headache, and you go, why take ibuprofen when you can have a perk? That line will work if you drop it with a bar like that. That is why I will still to this day. And I'm gonna hit the wife when she gets home today from work. Hey girl, what can Brown do for you? It's a bar and it works. You just got to own it, fellas. Listen to Uncle Rob. I'm here to help. Own it with confidence. And you can be successful. All right. We got to go to a break. We'll come back here in just a minute. I got a couple of things that I still want to get to. Fran Brown had the head coach at Syracuse, had a very interesting clip that dropped yesterday. I want to respond to that. I want to get back to this Nick Saban thing from earlier in the show and more. Rob Lonzo and you, the Rob Brown Show rolls on. It is the Fan Upstate.
QC.
All right, guys, one more quick live read. Coming right back. Stay right there for me, please. Thank you. was fired last year. Fran Brown took over. And I got to tell you, I like this guy a lot. Got the chance to talk to him for 4 or 5 minutes at ACC Media Days. One of the things I look at in for coaches to be successful, I've given you what I think. I know I've beaten this into the ground. I have a head coaching structure. The foundation is your culture, and your culture can be anything, but it's got to be strong, and you got to have players that buy into it. And then there are 4 pillars of which a coach has to be strong in all 4 of them. You can be stronger in one than others, but you have to have some level of talent at all of them. It is player acquisition. Can you recruit? Can you navigate the portal? It is player retention. Once you get guys into the program and you are developing them within your program, can you keep them there? It is player development. Once you get the players that buy into the foundation and stick around on your program, can you develop them into the best possible football players for your program? And then number 4, it is game day execution. Can you coach on Saturdays? Because at the end of the day, you can have the best talent in the world. If you can't coach on Saturdays, if you can't adjust, you're going to lose. So Fran Brown was doing a podcast yesterday, and he was asked, when it comes to player acquisition and retention in the era of the transfer portal, what is your attitude and philosophy? And he gave this answer.
Yeah, you ain't going to play, dog. And we cool. Yeah. You got your degree. When you're a freshman, you need to come give me 3 years. Because in 3 years, you're guaranteed to have a degree if you play for me, right? In 3 years, you're eligible to go for the NFL. In 3 years, we've saved enough money, right? So now, with our core values, we're being detailed, accountable, relentless, and tough. You are committed to that. You care, and you trust yourself, and I trust your judgment. I'm going to tell you, yo, go in the portal. You got enough money saved up. You a man. You're going to be successful. Go somewhere else, and you got 2 more years to still get right. You're probably not going to play it.
Yeah.
So now I helped you get a degree.
Facts.
You save money. You locked in. And we know we tight forever. We making a business decision now.
Yeah.
But you got to give me 3 years so I could develop your son to become a man.
Right.
He's 21 now.
Right.
He has a degree. He's going to be able to go function and develop and compete anywhere in the world at whatever it is, right? Yeah. And like, why would you not want to do that? But when they come and it don't work the first year, then they go and leave. It's like why you waste our time? I could have gave that scholarship to somebody else.
Right.
You come and you want to leave after 1 year, you a fraud.
You a fraud. If you want to come and leave after 1 year, you a fraud. Now, there's a couple of takeaways from this clip, and I like this clip. The first thing that jumps off the page at me is Fran Brown says, and I'm paraphrasing, but the takeaway there is when he gets kids on the roster, player acquisition, he puts a plan into place for them. Says, look, here's the deal. You give me 3 years. Some of you will play more than others, but you give me 3 years, and I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure you get some NIL money. I'm going to help you learn how to manage that and save that money. I'm going to help you learn to be able to put some of that money away so that when it's time to go, you will have some money in the bank to go with. And he said the second thing is, I'm going to make sure that you have a degree so that when it's time to make your move, and he called it, you heard him, he referred to it as a business decision. When it's time to make your move, you're set, whether it's for football or something else. I like this. This is the type of thing I think that likely wins over, I would guess, probably parents more than kids, right? Like if you're a parent and you hear a coach say, you give me 3 years. You give me 3 years, I'm going to develop you as a guy. I'm going to help you save up a little money so that you got some in the bank when it's ready to go. And I'm going to make sure you have a degree so that whatever is next for you, you are set up for success. But did you catch the one other thing that he mentioned in this discussion? The one other thing that he specifically brought up was, when you're ready to go, I'll help you. When you're ready to go, I will help you. I will help you find the place that you want to go. I will help you get to the place that you want to go, because then you're an adult. You got money saved up. You got a degree. Now it's time for you to look out for you and to have a business decision. I have said that the biggest change in college football, it's not NIL. It's not the portal. Those are the most impactful, but they aren't the biggest change. The biggest change in college football is that for the first time, players are damn near on equal footing in the power hierarchy with those that they play for. Players on the Syracuse Orange team now have as much control over their career as coaches do. It, in the old days, was effectively once you sign to a team, your only control is where am I going? Once you sign to a team, you don't really have much more control. In fact, the only control you have is go get your degree and you can be a graduate transfer. You can say, oh, this school doesn't offer the grad degree I want, so I got to go somewhere else. Outside of that, you didn't really have any control. Now you have control over your future. If you get sold a false bill of goods when you show up to a school and you go, this sucks and I don't want to be here, you can say, I'm going to go somewhere else that I do want to be here. I like this from Fran Brown because he is basically saying, look, you show up, I'm going to develop you as a dude. And for the record, not every player is going to go for this, right? Not every player is going to say, I really care about development. There will be players who say, I don't care about all that. I want the best NIL check I can get. There will be players who say, I'm not really worried about my future. I just want to play football. I want to be the best this. I want to be that. I want to learn this, whatever. Every player is going to have a different approach. But I have to suspect that there are a lot of players, and I would dare say even more parents who are going to hear that sales pitch from Fran Brown. Listen, come here, give me 3 years. Some of you are going to play more than others, but give me 3 years. I'm going to develop you. I'm going to help you save NIL money so you got a little bit of a trust fund to roll around on. Like, I'm going to help you be the guy. And when you give me that 3 years, and once you're 21, once you're an adult, once you're ready to roll on, I will help you, if you want to leave, to find the best landing spot. Where's the thing? If he gets guys that say they want in and they are willing to commit to 3 and then take his help to save some money, get a degree, and then find the right transfer destination, if he gets them on the hook for 3 years, what do you think the odds are that in year 4 they're going to be like, I'm out? No, they're probably going to feel some level of dedication and loyalty to the program. And if they feel some level of dedication and loyalty to the program, that's how you get guys on the team that are experienced, that have been there, that have done that have been through the ringer, that understand intimately the program. That's what it is. So I like this. I'm not saying it's going to work for every player, but no recruiting style is going to work for every player. You got to tailor it. And if that is the way you approach college football, then tailor that coaching pitch for kids who are going to fall for it. I think that's great out of Fran Brown. All right, when we come back, the NBA season got underway last night. Full slate tonight. The Charlotte Hornets will tip at 7 o'clock at home against the Brooklyn Nets. I got some thoughts on the Charlotte Hornets season upcoming. I'll give that to you when we come back. We'll spend a minute or two on this Nick Saban thing, all that and more as we wrap up the Rob Brown Show next here on the Fan Upstate. All right, dudes and dudettes, one more segment. Stay right there. We'll be right back. 2025-26 National Basketball Association's regular season got started last night. Had 2 games last night, have a full slate of games coming up this evening. That includes the opening night tip of the Charlotte Hornets, who will be at the crib. 7 p.m., they tip off against the Brooklyn Nets in the first contest of the 25-26 regular season. What do we expect out of this team? I got to tell you, I think this team is not just a playoff team this year, which is wild because this team last year, 19-63. They were 14th in the East, which obviously means they missed the playoffs. But I also point out that last year, this team was maybe not the most injured in terms of number of injuries, but the most ravaged by injury, in my opinion. You had LaMelo Ball, who missed a chunk of time when he started. LaMelo Ball, for the first 5 weeks of the football season, was an all-star last year. Like, the question was being asked, is he the best point guard in the game for about 5 weeks until he started having some injuries. Brandon Miller, the young man they drafted out of the University of Alabama, who assuming he stays healthy this year, I fully expect that Brandon Miller is going to emerge as a star this year. He had some off-the-field interaction or off-the-court interaction in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Remember, he was involved in that shooting. That kind of created some drama for him. Brandon Miller is a star. The kid can play 4 different positions on the basketball court at any given time. He fits anywhere with any lineup you want to throw out there. And then, of course, Charlotte went into the draft lottery. Now, aside from the moves, the 4th overall pick, they take Con Knippel. I like that pick. Now, at the time of that pick, I was a little up in the air about it because I genuinely thought, I think Con Knippel might be a bit of a culture pick, right? And don't get me wrong, with Charles Lee in going into year number 2 at the helm, building a culture, even at the NBA, building a culture is still priority number 1. I want you to think about the best teams in the NBA. The Thunder, the Celtics, they all have their culture, and they're all very unique. Like Joe Mazzulla's culture is psychotic. The Thunder culture is young, fast, fresh, hip, fun. Every great team has a culture, and I think that Charles Lee did a good job last year building it. Remember, at one point, when he was healthy, LaMelo Ball got benched at one point. I talked about it at length on the show because I genuinely liked the benching. Even if it is at the risk of taking off your superstar, I think it's a good benching. It was a good benching because there were 4, 5, 6 games in a row where LaMelo Ball was going off for, 34 with 12 assists, 34 with 10 assists. The problem was he was not playing defense. He was like actively trying to not be good defensively. And Charles Lee, who said a bunch of times, like, defense is going to be a hallmark of this team, put his ass on the bench, said, like, if you want to play, you're going to play on both ends of the court or you're going to play on neither. I think that is there. So I thought about it, like, if Con Knippel is a culture pick, that's good because that is still the phase that Charles Lee is in. But I'm also going to tell you, the offseason was very good for Con Knippel. The summer games were very good. Like, he looked impressive. The preseason games, Con Knippel looks like he's ready to be a starter. They go Liam McNeely, and then they went and got Zion James with the 33rd pick. And then with 34, took Ryan Kalkbrenner. Again, 2 more guys that I kind of said, oh, these are culture picks. These are culture picks. I don't know that I love it. Well, here's the deal. Con Knippel is starting to become a star. But in order for him to be the best he can be, especially in his rookie year for the Hornets, what do you need to do with him? You want somebody out there that is comfortable with him, that understands his game, and can set him up. That's Zion James. And then the biggest problem you've had, I say the biggest problem literally, the biggest problem you've had the last couple of years is the fact that you have not gotten consistently good play out of your 5 spot, out of your center position. Ryan Kalkbrenner out of Creighton is not really a guy that is going to be Shaq levels of dominant. You know what he is, though? He is the most fundamentally sound and consistent big man that was available in that draft. Is he the most impressive athletically? Not really. Is he the biggest, most elite scoring threat? No, not really. But Ryan Kalkbrenner is the type of big man that goes, oh, shots up, box out. He's the type of big man that goes, okay, I score from the block, but right now, because they are running a high-point defense, I need to come up to the free throw line and be a distributor. I don't need to be the guy that's scoring here. I need to be the guy that's picking up assists from the post. I like that pick a lot, not because there's going to be anything that's going to be stellar about this, but I think it's just going to be consistent, and I think it's going to be fundamentally sound, and I think that is something that this team very much missed last year. You are going to take a team that was ranked 29th, 21st, and 28th in three-point shooting percentage over the past 3 years. Konkanippel is an ace. He's a sniper. He's a sharpshooter. He can score from outside the line, but as a shooting/driving three-point guard or three-point forward, Konkanippel is absolutely the type of guy that if you lag off on defense because you know he can drive and score on the mid-range J, he is going to knock down threes. So then what other moves did you make? You brought Trey Mann back, established veteran. You added Pat Connaughton. You know what Pat Connaughton can do. He did it with the Bucks for a long time. Mason Plumlee, another, like, let's just be consistent. And Colin Sexton, another player that I very much like and I think is to some degree unappreciated as a guard that can contribute. I really like this kid. Played his ball at Alabama as well. So while I think he only crossed over with Brandon Miller for a year, like they've got some familiarity as well. The roster construction here, to me, I really like it. You've got vets like Sexton and Connaughton. You've got an ace shooter in Konkanippel. You've got two guys who have familiarity and comfort with him. You've got the big man in Kalkbrenner that I think you've missed the last couple of years. I really like. They have a good young core around Brandon Miller and Ball, and now you've got dudes that complement them. LaMelo Ball is your X factor again. Again, last year we were at the point where we were asking, is he the best point guard in the game before the injury started to creep up on him? I know that he's made some changes. We talked about this at the end of last year. He went to wearing the ankle braces full time because the ankles have been the problem for LaMelo Ball. Went to wearing the ankle braces full time. If he was willing to commit to that, I have to assume, hopefully, they spent the time this offseason trying to figure out exactly what is triggering those ankle issues for him. And I'm very much hoping they're worked out, because if they are, and Brandon Miller, who showed flashes last season, but because of a wrist injury, played in only 27 games, he is a fantastic slicer. LaMelo Ball is a great distributor. Now you've got the three-point shooter in Konkanippel. Now you've got a pure old-school rebounder in Ryan Kalkbrenner. Now that four spot, whether it's Zion James or Pat Connaughton or whoever you're going to put into that mix, now you've got a litany of guys who can fill that fourth spot in the starting rotation based on what you need to do any given night against any given team. I do not think that this team is going to go from 19 wins last year to, 50 or 60 this year. But I think they're a 40, maybe 42, 43 win basketball team this year. And I think if they can get to 43 and they can be hovering around that 500 mark, we saw some 500 teams get into the play-in last year. I think this could be a team good enough to be the last or second to last team in the play-in, because the roster construction was absolutely perfect, in my opinion, this offseason. I think they nailed the roster construction. And if that is the case, and Brandon Miller flourishes, and Lonzo Ball is able to keep LaMelo Ball is able to keep his ankles healthy, if Brandon Miller is going to be elite, like I think he can and he will, and if Ryan Kalkbrenner at the 5 is that fundamental rebounding big man that Charlotte's not had, I think this team can be a 40 to 45 win team. I think they're good enough to climb into the play-in. And if they climb into the play-in with a good young core, guess what they become next year? Because the NBA guys, they love Charlotte. It's a great city. They love Charlotte. They become a free agent destination next year for the big names that go, all right, you got a great point guard. You got an ace 3-point shooter. You got a great 2. I can be that 4th guy that adds this. And if Giannis goes out there, I'm not saying Giannis is coming to Charlotte, but if he does, now Charlotte as a free agent destination is attractive to NBA players in a way that they go, I don't need 10 more million to go play for the Knicks. I'll make 10 million less, but I'll go be a star in Charlotte. I really think that this is a huge step in the right direction, and I think the 25-26 season will be a huge step in a positive direction for the Charlotte Hornets.
And now, the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter.
First step for that is tonight. We'll see. All right. What is Xing? Rob, I'm going to tell Rob. Rob's going to tell us why
I don't know.
Xing. Well, I'm about to tell you. The first thing that's Xing is Max Crosby.
Okay, I saw this yesterday because you sent it to me. The Dallas Cowboys are apparently going to or trying to be active in the NFL as we approach the trade deadline. Primarily, they want to stack up. They want to get an edge rusher because with Micah Parsons gone, they really don't have one right now, and it's kind of the weakness. And the rumor going around yesterday was that the Dallas Cowboys may offer a massive haul for Max Crosby. Now, I would like to say this, because while I think he's a joke of an owner, remember, when Micah Parsons went to Green Bay and Jerry got the haul he got for Micah, he said, just because we got a bunch of draft picks doesn't mean we have to wait for those draft picks to use them to flip into a dude. So do the Cowboys take everything that they got for Micah Parsons and trade it to the Raiders and get Max Crosby? Remember, the Raiders are a 2-win team. They're not going anywhere. This team is cooked. They're bad. Max Crosby has said a number of times, and he's the ultimate Raider. I mean, look at that guy. Like that guy just looks like a Raider. But the question mark is going to be, hey, Max, like you're probably 2-3 years away from this team being good. Do you want out? And if the Raiders, if he says yes, and if the Raiders are willing to move because they need to stockpile draft picks, this doesn't, Lonzo, in my opinion, this doesn't exonerate Jerry Jones if he turns the Micah Parsons trade package into Max Crosby, but it damn sure would cool him off a little bit.
All right. Some outlets are saying that that's not real.
I don't think
Others
it's real
are
for the
saying
record.
It is real.
Yeah, I don't
And
think it's real.
I saw one where Max Crosby just started following Dak Prescott and a bunch of members of Dallas.
Yeah, but he also strikes me as the dude that would see that report and be like, watch this.
Yeah, probably.
You know what I mean?
I don't think he's going anywhere either. All right. The next thing it's Xing is Warner Brothers.
Warner Brothers is now officially up for sale. Is that what I read earlier this morning?
They are.
So it has been rumored for a while that Warner Brothers would be placed on the sales block. There are a couple of companies that have been interested in taking over Warner Brothers. Now, obviously, Warner Brothers has a deep catalog of IPs, of intellectual properties that could go somewhere. I just don't know, like, who's going to take it over and make something. Now, what we do know right now, or what I've read so far,
there's been offers already.
Yeah, NBC has offered $43 billion. Netflix has offered $45 billion. Apple has offered $50 billion. And apparently, Zoe, there is a now fourth company that has made a bid. Nobody knows who it is, if the reports are true. A fourth company has made a $52 billion bid to buy Warner Brothers.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Their gaming studio also up for sale.
Yep.
All right. Yeah. The next thing is Xing is Darkseid.
As in DC Universe Darkseid?
Yes.
Was Darkseid, you're going to say no because I think you liked the direction the old DC was going. Is Darkseid the most wasted bad guy in any comic book universe? Cinematic comic book universe?
We don't know because there wasn't another Zack Snyder movie. And if there was, then you would have gotten to see. I mean, that was just showing he's coming. And the next movie, you would have actually seen him show up.
Fair enough.
The reason why he is Xing is because James Gunn was asked yesterday, is the Sanctuary, which has something to do with Peacemaker, is it going to lead to Darkseid? Because all things point to that. And he said no. He said that he thought that Zack Snyder did a good job with Darkseid. He also said that Darkseid and Thanos look a little too much alike.
I mean, they absolutely do. Like, I get it. But wasn't there a deleted scene with Darkseid in Justice League?
He also mentioned he did like the New Gods, and that there's a new series coming out that may have something to do with dabble with that.
I'm back in on the DCU between Peacemaker and Superman. I'm back in.
But a lot of people are upset because if WB is sold, they think that
could all go away. Dude,
yes.
Could you imagine if they sold that and DCU gets kicked in the nads again?
It absolutely could happen. All right, and finally, the last thing that's Xing is Russell Wilson.
Okay, so Sean Payton, as I think kind of a joke, but not really, said that he hoped that when the Denver Broncos, Russell Wilson was there, Russell Wilson ends up in New York. The Broncos and the Giants, and Giants just play. Sean Payton said out loud, he was like, I really had hoped they wouldn't have made, as if he knew it was coming. They wouldn't have made their quarterback change until, quote, well after we played them. Pretty much a shot at Russell Wilson. Yesterday, Russell Wilson put on X, I see you're still bounty hunting after 15 years, this time in the media, calling out, obviously, Sean Payton's involvement with the Bounty Gate, shouldn't have been a scandal for the New Orleans Saints back in 2006, and then called Sean Payton, and I quote, classless, end quote. Dude, I don't know what to say. Get your popcorn ready. These are two of the weirdest dudes in the NFL getting after. I don't think Sean Payton's going to fire back, but we'll find out.
He might. One guy got benched and should have, and the other guy's still the head coach of a football team. So
Also fair. Hey, that's it for us. Thanks for being here. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you didn't, I don't know what to tell you. It's on you. We're going to come back tomorrow. We'll try even harder. And it is Thursday, which means Rashad Beard's coming by to talk Panthers. No, it's not. That's on Friday. I told you. I don't even know what day it is. Tomorrow on the show, Fight Club with the great Malonzo. No Lulu Kesson. She was today. We'll have that posted for you at the Fan Upstate later on today. So come back tomorrow. We start our look ahead at the football weekend. He's Lonzo. I'm Rob. See you back here tomorrow on the Fan Upstate. Goodbye.
Slay.
it'll never get old, ever.
Slay. I really need to go find the what was the other one he had? Damn it, what was the other one he had? Problem is I have them all in one drive. And to organize them so they show up on the soundboard, I just have to name the clip whatever is said in the clip, which means that they're not in any order. It's not like all the Rocks clips, all Joe Gibbs clips.
As someone who's had to repeatedly fix their cart wall the last couple of weeks, I definitely understand. And I did not save them how I labeled them when I put them on the cart wall, and then it becomes a problem. So then I have to go back and change. I should go and rename the files where they're saved. So if I have this problem again, I won't have to redo it, but I won't. Later, Austin.
Austin, thanks for coming out, brother. Kane, Jim, who else was in here? Joey B was up in here.
All of yins.
Joey B, I think this is genuinely my take. I think you said it more succinctly. Of course, I had 7 minutes to fill up, but I think that's my take. I think this might be an absolutely electric 500 team. But I also think I think 500 might get you in this year. Really. I think there's some teams took a step back. I think 500 might get you in this year. We'll find out. All right, kids, that's it for us. We got a jet. I got a jet. Lonzo can hang out if he wants to, but I got stuff to do.
Yeah, like I have a choice.
Thanks for being here. Tell your friends about us. We want to get rich, famous, and retired. Have a lovely rest of your day. Hopefully, we'll see you back here tomorrow. Goodbye.